Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Research Café workshop. My name is Latifa Al-Himiri, and I would like to welcome you to our workshop today. I head the Medical Initiative section at Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation. For over 25 years, the foundation has advanced healthcare by recognizing excellence, supporting research, and empowering the medical community across the UAE and the Arab world. Our work focuses on three main pillars. First, our medical awards, which spans 5 local and international categories. Among the awards is the Best Research in Healthcare Award, which recognizes outstanding local research talent. This workshop is part of our effort to support researchers interested in applying. Second, we regularly organize CPD-accredited webinars and workshops just like this one. And third is the Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Health Research Grant, which supports high-impact UAE-based research. While the current cycle is closed, future cycles will be announced at a later time. Before we begin the workshop, you'll find links in the chat for award applications and our mailing list, if you would like to stay updated. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome everybody to today's session. I'll now hand over to my colleague Sami to go through the housekeeping rules and introduce our speakers.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'll just quickly run through a few housekeeping points before we begin. So if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If it's for a specific speaker, please mention their name. And the speakers will try to respond through text throughout the session, and we'll have a short Q&A at the end of each day. To receive your CME certificate, please fill in the poll that will pop up at the end of tomorrow's session. Certificates can be downloaded next week from the following link. You should receive an email when it's ready, and please log in using the same email you used to register for this webinar. If you'd like to revisit the workshop, a recording will be made available on the Hamdan Foundation's YouTube channel. It's called Qanat Tamayuz. And to briefly introduce the speakers, they are all from the Institute of Public Health at UAE University. Dr. Affat Al-Barazi is Associate Professor and Head of the Health Education Research Unit. She is the UAE National Representative for the UNESCO Chair on Global Health and Education. She was listed among Stanford and Elsevier's top 2% most cited scientists for 4 consecutive years and has authored over 135 peer-reviewed publications. Dr. Azhar Rahma is an instructor at the Institute and coordinator of the core courses for the master's and doctorate programs. She is a faculty fellow at the UAE Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning, recipient of the Excellence in Teaching Award, and is the editor of the recently published Elsevier book on genomic literacy. Dr. Ruwaida Al-Khalil is an accomplished nursing and health educator with extensive teaching experience across nursing and health sciences colleges in the UAE. She co-authored several publications on mental health literacy and is finalizing her doctorate degree at UAEU. Dr. Ahmad Masoudi is Assistant Professor of Biostatistics and Head of the Epidemiology and Biostatistical Consulting Unit. He holds a PhD in Statistics from Oxford Brookes University and has authored over 200 publications. He brings extensive experience in teaching biostatistics and supervising research across undergraduate, master's, and PhD programs. So it goes without saying, each speaker is an expert in scientific writing and publishing, and we hope everyone benefits from their experience. So I'll leave it to you, Dr. Affat, to start the workshop.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Sami, Latifa, and Hamdan Foundation for this invitation. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. So I'll start sharing my screen. And welcome, everyone. And so delighted to be here today. I want to speak with you about some tips on research and research design. So this is what we're going to do. This is my session in the morning is going to be an introductory session, and then we will move through the day and until tomorrow with different sections on how to write a proposal or how to write a manuscript. So we will be doing some activities We will be discussing also how to use AI tools, databases for literature, how to manage references and navigate ethics, and how to select the right journal and handle peer review. This is our theme, and this is day one schedule, as I mentioned. So today we will just start with how to develop the research and the research question, and then move until how to write the methodology. And you can think about it in a way that it's a proposal for a grant or for income. The Research Café is our theme today. So like a great espresso, a good research question takes decision, patience, and the right method. When I want to start any proposal or to write a manuscript, it's always with any research, we do some priority settings. We have a good and clear research question. Then we write a nice, proposal or protocol. And sometimes we think for funding strategies, if our study needs some funding and some budget, and always think that whatever I'm doing should have some influence on policy. What I want to do at the moment is for all of you, if you don't mind, to scan our barcode, QR code, and to have some activity with everyone. I'll give you some like couple of minutes for everyone to scan this QR code so we can start some questions. And I would appreciate if everyone can participate in this. Physicians, researchers, nurses, medicine, medical graduates. So I would assume that we have really experienced people here in research, and maybe some of you are just beginners.
Dr. Rifat,
Yes,
I'm sorry. Can you please hold the mic closer to you?
Yeah.
Thank
Is
you
this
so
better?
much.
Is
Yes,
this better?
Much better.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. Let me move to the second question. So just for the sake of time. Don't mind. Yes. And then back to question. Have you ever published in peer-reviewed journals? Please also start answering this question. Yes, excellent. So we have quite a number who never published at all. And we have quite a good number of experienced publishers. This is excellent. Great. So sorry, I have to jump between different polls. Okay. And then we can go to the second one. And what are your expectations of this workshop? Great. I can see someone who wants to get started, and someone who wants to know how the best practice, and especially publishing in the UAE, other than gaining knowledge, ethically utilize AI. This is great. Research excellence and building confidence. I love this. This is very important to write the best paper, consolidate knowledge, build confidence again and again. I think this is great, and I hope we can meet this expectations for you today. This is why we are here today. And I'll go to the last question, and then we can go through these at the end of the day, also these answers. Kindly answer the last question for those who have started to publish, for those who are already publishing. What are the most challenges you face when you are publishing? Rejection. Excellent. Choosing statistics, and that's why we have Dr. Imad here today with us. Publication fees, excellent. This is something that we can go back to you in Hamdan. Maybe you can help with the publication fees and funding, journal selection, finding the right journal, expressing ideas. I think, again, the rejection comes a lot, and this is something that we all face, not only when you are a beginner, but also when you are still experienced researcher, you keep on getting rejections. Unfortunately, this is how we need to navigate through our research, endeavors. So thank you so much for all your participation. This was an excellent overview on what you are expecting, and to know about the group today, because it is very important that whatever you feel that it's not answered within our session, because the session is the session time is a bit short, you can put your questions there in the Q&A, and we will try to answer them at the end. I just put for you quickly some, just taking care of the time, some ideas, some practical tools, resources, frameworks that you can use when you want to start setting your priorities and finding about the topic that you want to research if you don't have a topic, or what is the priority within your topic and where to get these priorities from. These are some examples for you to navigate and to find out what has been published, what has been going on within the scientific community, and what are the most important priorities within the country or within the international, community. So the global burden of disease, if you haven't heard of it, you can just navigate the global burden of disease, and you will find lots of publications related to any medical or public health topics. It has been there for years. Every year there are lots of publications coming out showing some global burden of disease around the world, collecting data from different platforms around the world, from different countries, and presenting them within epidemiological studies. SDGs, national health strategies, are very important places to start from. WHO priority, some research priority methods such as the CORED and the ESSENCE. Stakeholder consultations and community needs are very important for you to decide on your research question. And sometimes you can use different methodologies such as SWOT analysis, where you look at strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and you decide on your research question. These are some resources that you can visit to find out more about what has been published, what has been there, such as the PubMed, the Cochrane gap analysis, Hinari, which is the health internet work, access to research initiatives, and the global health databases. And later, Dr. Waila is going to show you a little bit on how to do some literature review, scoping, systematic review of literature. I would always advise you, if you want to start your research journey, is to start with a scoping review or to work on a systematic review with someone who is experienced to help you really define what are the gaps, what are the most important points to start your search on. Expert consensus, Delphi methods are ways to get also more resources, policy documents, gray literature, and definitely consulting with the community and trend analysis. All of these can be a great way to start your research journey and to start your research question. What is a research question? I wanted to point out that the final criteria is when you want, after you do all your search or your literature and identify the gaps, make sure that you follow the final criteria in order to come up with the right research question in the right way. A good research question should be feasible, where you have, that you already defined your subjects, how you're going to do it, technical expertise, time, and funding. It should be interesting, motivating to you, to the field, and answering a gap. As I said, novel, confirms and extend previous funding. Please do not repeat something that has been done already, and use the right resources, right funding, right time to come up with something more novel and that can add to the literature and can add to the scientific community. Ethical, and this is a very important criteria where we will talk more about ethics later on, but it should be ethical where you protect the patients, the participant safety, whether they are patients, whether they are from the community, and we also always follow the research integrity procedures and protect the integrity of everyone, and should be relevant. Relevant, which means, as I said, advance the scientific knowledge and practice. So kindly remember the final criteria when you are writing your research question. Also, remember the PICO framework also to help you for a good research and to come up with the right research and the right research question, where you define your population. P stands for population. If you don't know it, I would assume those who have been doing lots of research know about the PICO, but remember that the P should define your population. Who am I working with? Am I working with patients? Which patients are we talking about? Patients, for example, who are undergoing kidney transplant, kidney dialysis, cancer patients. So look at the setting, look at the disease burden, read papers that from the global burden of disease, which have defined what is the burden. Is it behavioral? Is it genetic? Is it related to system? The intervention should very important to look at what you want to do, what are the exposures, what is the treatment available, policy, behavior. Remember that comparison. Look, if you're going for really some clinical trials or for some study which is looking at, for example, patient care, look at the comparison controls. Control is having control cases and control. Looking at the standard of care and the baseline, the outcome. What am I doing? Why am I doing this study? Why I'm doing this research? What would be the outcome? Is it going to influence policy? Is it going to influence practice? Is it going to add to my, to the scientific findings? And remember that we always sometimes come with very nice research questions, but cannot be feasible within a specific time frame. It is not feasible even to access the population. It is not easy to ask sometimes to get approval to get into that population. Sometimes it's very hard to get ethics and approval. So make sure that it is feasible and make sure that you can reach the population. You know what you're doing and look at the time frame, the funding, and the outcome that you're going to. This is an anatomy of a winning proposal, and whether it is really related to a manuscript or writing a proposal for funding or for receiving ethics approval, always start with an executive summary, which shouldn't exceed than 250 words that state the problem, the approach, the impact. Today we can use the AI to help us writing this, but it is very important that you write your own thoughts there and to make sure that you do it in a very short and very clear way. So when I come as a reviewer and read it, I can understand what you want to do. Remember that you need in a proposal or whether it is a manuscript again to have your aim, your hypothesis. Be smart with your objectives. The smart objectives should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, and should be logical. Make sure that you again be innovative and look what try to write for us, justify and what is the significance of this study. Sorry, I'm going with the wrong order. Background and rationale. This is very important. The methodology is very important. And sometimes you start with the executive summary, then the background, aim and the hypothesis, and you would put the significance and justification before the methodology. You go to the methodology where Dr. Imad is going to talk to you more in details about the methodology, design, sample, tools, timeline, analysis, etc. And then who is your team? Who's going to do that? Define your expertise, your collaborators, especially when you're writing a proposal. And for a grant or for funding, you need to write about who is your team, their expertise to win your proposal. Budget justification is very important for any proposal. You might not write it in the manuscript. However, when you are writing a protocol or a proposal, make sure that you put a achievable budget and that why am I needing all of this budget? Don't go for very big budget that cannot be given, and don't go for very small budget that you will not be able to use for your study. What are the outcome? How are you going to disseminate and the impact? And remember that with different research designs are very important. Always, if you want to have a very interesting and achievable design or research, use what we call triangulation, where you can combine sometimes methods together. You might need to get the expertise of others. For example, if you want to go for a qualitative type of study where you try to get more details and explore meanings and lived experiences, so many people are not experienced in qualitative research. So you might go for the experts. If you have any interest to know more about qualitative research, we have also workshops on this, and I'm an expert in qualitative research. I'm more than happy to hand on to help you with and to support you. Quantitative research, where you can test hypotheses, the surveys, experiments, and analyze data. Again, Dr. Imad and his unit can help you with this. And this mixed method, which is gaining a lot of interest now among health researchers, public health researchers, medical community, where you integrate both the qualitative and the quantitative, and you can come up with, and as I mentioned, the triangulation, where you can answer the question from different ways and to come up with really a very strong outcome and findings. I wanted to mention, just for the sake of time, I'm very careful about the time. I wanted to mention the funding strategies and navigation. Please, if you have any questions on what I have mentioned before, put in the Q&A and we'll try to answer it as we said before. Funding strategies and navigation within funding is very important for researchers. There are lots of funding opportunities for new researchers and for early career ones. From WHO, for example, you will find very small amount and grants where you can apply, and they encourage a lot early career people. There are national competitive fundings, and they are mentioned already by the team here in Hamdan Foundation, where you can apply for grants. Sanduq Watan for nationals, and there are lots of opportunities there in the UAE. Just you need to navigate it. The international grants, there are lots of them. You can look at NIH and the Wellcome Trust in the UK, the Gates Foundation, the WHO, TDR, and please, it's all available online. Just when you want to go for any topic, let's say cancer, the IARC can provide sometimes, which is the International Agency of Research on Cancer. They have some opportunities on grants, so explore it. Look for grants that are related to your own study, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There are lots of them around the world and within the country here. Regional bodies within this region, there are lots of opportunities. In the GCC, there is the Arab Science Fund, the Qatar Foundation, King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief, and I can go on and on. There are lots of opportunities. Match your research to the funder and overcome barriers. Pharma industry, they give you sometimes, especially if you're going to test certain pharmaceutical products, make sure always to think about the ethics. So if this is ethical or not, please don't go for industry and pharma. And when, for example, it's going to breach other ethics. Institutional seats, like in institutions such as academic institutions, where you are working sometimes in hospitals, they might have their own small grants or priming funds. Look for this. And NGOs such as if we're talking about cancer, we have Friends of Cancer Patients here. They might have their own opportunities for funding. So overcome funding challenges. Sometimes some funding organizations, they don't look for new, they don't accept very young researchers, and they look for people who have really well built track records of funding and grants. So try to start with seed grants and with small funding before you go to the very big institutions, and try to get with you a co-PI with senior researchers. Sometimes one of the main reasons we don't get funding is that we don't align what call to our research. So read the funding call and the grant call and make sure to use their language, their words, and make sure to abide by the time they want. For example, we obtained a grant from the Early Childhood Authority, and it was on father's role within the well-being. So we had to use the exact words that they were putting in their funding call, and we were able to receive that, to win that grant because we used the language that they have put in their call. Budget restriction, as I said, don't go for very big budget where they want to, the limit is 2 million and you put 3 million. Definitely you will not get it. And make sure that you look at what are their outcomes, and to look at specific geographic and equity barriers that might not lead you to achieve that study. These are some facilitators and challenges that you might face in research. Always keep a clear research question, strong theoretical conceptual framework, adequate funding, access to participants, as I mentioned, experienced mentorship, and prior literature grounding study. Some challenges when you or might be weaknesses when it is vague, when you have limited access to target population, time and resources constrained, research bias, and when you want to achieve to show us something that might not be shown. And ethical gatekeeping, IRB is very important. Count for IRB's time, because sometimes it takes 6 months to get approvals, publication bias, and knowledge gap. So I leave this session now with this idea for you to work on later on when you want to write your own research question. Please use these ideas to how to craft your research question, how to craft your research design, identify your facilitators and challenges, and do this at your own time. And if you need any question, any ideas, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. I'll leave you now with Dr. Azhar, who's going to talk to you about how to write the best abstract. And remember, abstracts come at the end, but we wanted to go by order. So Dr. Azhar, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Afat. Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. It's very beautiful to see 504 participants are joining us early in the morning in a weekend. And I can see that people are here, have a great appetite for research. And this is really very encouraging. And we hope that we deliver exactly what you are asking for. So we'll start with the first part of a paper, which is the abstract. And since the name of this beautiful workshop, and we thanks the organizers for inviting us, is about Café. So we thought, like, let's make the abstract more like your coffee cafe and welcome. So today's special is actually we'll try to craft a killer abstract for a peer-reviewed publications. So have a coffee, because I'm going to talk a lot about coffee. I'll open your appetite to that. If you are not a coffee person, maybe tea or matcha. So our goal is to help you prove the perfect abstract that gets your research noticed. And I actually gonna share with you this beautiful paper, which is actually a beautiful dissections of the rule of thumbs for writing a research articles. I put the QR code for you here, and the organizers is going to send it with you for you as well. So this is the link below, so you can have access, and it explains for each element of the paper what is exactly the good practice, what is the rule of thumbs. So as you can see with abstract, we need to have a short, give an overall idea of what has been done, what has been found, and what are the main conclusions. In that paper, there is a beautiful flow diagram about all the headings and subheadings of the paper, so I really recommend that you read it. And there are other people who actually connect the paper to a human anatomy, or if you like me, a person who likes seafood, to a fish. What that exactly, as you can see, the head is the abstract, and this is, as you can see, the most important thing, because it tells about the problem, the method that you use, the key finding, and the main impact. The introduction is the body of your research, and this is what Dr. Ruwaida is going to walk us through it, methodology with Dr. Ahmad, and tomorrow we're going to continue with the second half of our anatomy, which is the result discussion and conclusion. So let me ask you something. Have you watched a movie recently? I know there are so many beautiful movies now. Some of us girls are looking for The Devil Wears Prada, and some watch Michael Jackson. Some they have kids like we were looking for Frozen or Avatar, whatever your taste is. The reason I'm asking you about the movie is just not because it's a weekend, but sometimes when we decide that we watch a movie, what we do, we actually go to the trailer. And we decide based on the comments and the trailer whether this movie is suitable for our kids, for example, or is it something that it's worth spending 2 or 3 hours from our time watching it. Ladies and gentlemen, abstract of the paper is exactly your movie trailer. So if you want people to read your paper, to watch your movie, make sure that your abstract, your trailer, is really up to the standard and something that it is very engaging for people to notice. And of course, if we watch a movie at the night, we'll wake up sleepy, so we need our espresso, and that's why today, consider abstract is like your perfect espresso. It's small, intense, and once you drink it, it's unforgettable. You'll wake up just like that. And this is exactly the abstract of the paper. So it is a self-contained summary of the whole paper. So we walk you through 2 days, giving you what is the paper and what is the anatomy of the paper. So in abstract, you try to summarize the whole paper that you spend a lot of time working on it. It is the first thing that people notice. We know there is a saying, say, don't judge the book by its cover, but with paper, we judge the paper by the abstract. And it is the key driver for citation and discoverability, because sometimes when you do systematic review, scoping review, you actually filter the paper based on the title and abstract. So it is very, very, very important for citation. So it is your best advertisement. So make sure that you make it count. What abstract is not, it's not an introduction to the topic. So don't spend a lot of time explaining the topic thinking that an abstract is just an intro for your paper. It's not. It's not a place for citations or figures. So sometimes when we review papers, we receive citations in the abstract. This is the first thing I rejected immediately. Or copy paste the conclusion as it is. Don't copy and paste from your paper into your abstract. And it is not an optional thing. So editors really, and reviewers reject the paper based on abstract alone. And I saw in your word cloud that rejection is one of the challenges that you guys are facing. And this is why writing a beautiful, well-written abstract is going to help with the acceptance of your paper. So it's a small but powerful. So deliver the full flavor of your research in just few steps of your espresso. Is this from me? No, actually numbers don't lie. So basically 80% of readers, according to a study by SCV Research Academy, reads only the abstract and never the full paper, especially if it is not in an open access paper. So they judge the whole paper based on the abstract. And it is the first thing reviewers read before deciding to accept or reject your manuscript if you are sending it for reviewers. So even reviewer 1 or reviewer 2, for some of you who wrote reviewer 2, actually both of them is going to read the abstract. So make sure that you write a killing abstract. And there is a quote from the editor of Journal of Chemography saying that if there is more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract, I don't waste my time even reading the rest. And that gives you a great indication that your abstract needs to be written in the best way ever. And I know sometimes as an early researchers or PhD or master students, we write an abstract to participate in certain conferences, which our project is not completely done. And then when our paper is complete, we forgot to go and update our abstract. So make sure that your abstract is a complete reflection of the whole paper, going back to our rule of thumb. There are 2 types of abstract design. Please stop me at any moment if you have any questions. Organizers, please, any question in the chat, make sure that you, and the burning questions, let me know. So what about the skeleton of an abstract? So we talk about the skeleton of the paper, but does the abstract have a skeleton? Yes. We have a structured abstract and unstructured abstracts. What is the difference? So usually structured abstracts in which you have a clear subheading, like you have background, objective, method, result, and conclusion. And this is what we call MRAD process. And this is used mostly by clinical journals like BMG, JAMA, and Lancet, and most medical journals like to follow a structured approach of abstract. It's easier to scan because if you are looking for the method, you go and read the method. So readers find it easy to find what they are looking for. Fast food. We are in the era of everything fast, 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 fast. Word count. Typically, it's from 250 to 350. However, you need to look at the guidance for authors. So each journal will give you a complete set of rules about whatever you need to write about the papers in terms of length, about the structure, and they're going to specify the number of words that you use. So make sure that you follow these guidelines, because if you don't, this is the first reason for disk rejection. This rejection means that they don't even send it to reviewers, that the editors were rejected on the spot. And it is really required for if you are doing a systematic review or randomized clinical trials. This is why medical journals follow it. And the unstructured abstract is mostly used for basic science, engineering. It flows with no headings. It requires very skillful writing because you need to cover all these 5 elements in a very clear way. The word count is usually shorter, from 150 to 250, and it is required for +1 nature communications like for original research, case report, and short community. So it is very important, again, that I cannot stress this enough. You need to follow the guidance for author, because there you are going to have a great format and you follow it. If you don't, this is an instant red flags for editors that these people were lazy, they did not follow the instruction, so why I waste my time reading their full manuscript? So this is the first step we are giving you. So let's make it more fun. So the anatomy of an abstract, if we decided to go whether for the structured or unstructured methodology, is to have an introduction. Basically, when you go to a coffee shop and order a coffee, this is why you ordered this coffee specifically, why you decided to go to a latte, to espresso, to cappuccino, to matcha, whatever, and not others. So this is where you tell us about your research, what is the gap, and why you decided to do this research. Method is how you make your coffee. So how did you do it? I know it's hard to explain so long process in an abstract, but this is a skill that you need to learn. The result, it's actually the aroma, the taste, this beautiful feeling when you get this cup of coffee with your name on it, with these beautiful messages, and then you start your day with it. So what did you find? This is the results. The conclusion is your rating of the coffee, like how much you get, what type of tips you are going to give. What does that mean to the research arena? So again, moving to the 5 layers of the latte method, you need a background, objective, method, result, conclusion. I keep repeating it because by the end of this sessions, inshallah, it will be consolidating. There is this reference that I found that actually gives you some guidance about the word count guide, and it depends on the importance of the sections. Like backgrounds usually do not exceed 25 words, objective 30 words. Method is usually the most because, again, people judge you from the method and decide to know more about your paper. So 50 words, result 60 words, which is the most important part, and the conclusion. So let's take it one step at a time. So what is the introduction? The introduction is the hook. This is where you open with a compelling clinical problem, the knowledge gap that demonstrates attention. So you try advertise people, again, trailer. So giving you an example here, despite advances in chemotherapy, treatment resistance remains significant challenge in metastatic breast cancer. So you describe your inclusion criteria where you are doing this research, and you are showing the problem that despite that advances, there is resistance. So you hook people here. They want to know more about what did you do to solve this problem. The method, it's exactly detailing your process. So the study design, the participant, the primary outcome, the statistic, the ethics approval that you did, you describe that all into that part. Like 250 patients with metastatic breast cancer received drug X, and over placebo, primary endpoint, blah, 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 and so on. The result is quantifying everything. So here, Don't shy from using numbers, p-value, confidence intervals, focus on the key finding. And a very important thing, especially if you ask AI to write your abstract, AI tend to overestimate. So report exactly what the data shows, no more, no less. Progression-free survival was significantly longer with drug X, and this is the median, this is the health, the HR, and this is the objective response, and blah, blah, blah. So exactly what did you find? Don't overestimate your finding, because then people will reject the paper. Finally, the conclusion. So what is your interpretation? What is the clinical implications? Why, as an editor, I need to publish this paper? As a reviewer, I need to accept it. As a reader, I need to continue reading it. So what you are adding to the wealth of knowledge that we have. So it should be a concise takeaway, and with strong, memorable sentence that audience will carry with them and decide that they're going to read your whole paper or accept your paper. Okay, I'm mindful of the time, so I would like you to say this loudly. Strong coffee always reveals important coffee shop. And this is a beautiful coffee shop from Dubai Mall. So notice here that I highlighted the first words. Why? Because I want you to remember this is CAREC, because CAREC is the framework that I would like to introduce for you for writing your manuscript abstract. So with this CAREC, and this is what has been followed by researchers, you prescribe the situation, then the challenge, then the action, the result, the impact, and call of action. So make sure in your conclusion that you have a call of actions based on your result, of course. This is an example, but because of the time, I'm not going to read it, but this is an example about antimicrobial resistance, and in each of these framework, they are writing a sentence to describe it. So what about in English? So always use active voice. We found. It beats it was found. It's cleaner, shorter, and more direct. One idea per sentence. So if your sentence has 3 commas, split it. Try always to have less than 25 words per sentence in an abstract. Avoid hedging, like cut it seems, may possibly. Use exactly what you found, the numbers, let the numbers talk. With the method, you use a past tense. With the result, you use a past tense. With the conclusion, present tense. Because you are saying something that doesn't happen yet. Get peer feedback. This is very important. So before sending it, let your colleague read it. Let them understand it and ask them, did they really understand it or it's confused? Because for us, we are in the box, but others are out of the box. And I know sometimes it's very hard, even when they ask us, like we wrote 300 and they ask us to make it 150, it's very hard for us to cut our words. So let others help you with that. And use the tool wisely with the Grammarly or any type of language service, because again, if there is any spelling mistakes, you lose your editors. The 7th sense of abstract writings, putting no numbers, copy pasting, or putting abbreviations. This is so irritating because you did not introduce these abbreviations and you put it there, people may not understand it. So this would be a cause for rejection. Don't put new information that has not been mentioned in the paper. Don't put citations, and don't start with this vague openers, this study investigated. Just try to make it very clear. Avoid too long, avoid too vague, avoid weak conclusion, no crema, and don't put any grammatical mistakes. If we had time, I would like to go through this exercise together, but we don't. But I will share this slides with you, in which you can have spot the difference between a proper written espresso abstract with a very written one. I will conclude with this because some journals will ask you for a graphical abstract, and this is the new trend now. Because this is the, figures speak louder than words, and it's equivalent to thousands of words, as we know. So they ask you to make graphical abstract. Before, so this is one of my graphical abstracts when I was in a PhD. You can see that I made it on PowerPoint. That's fine. But currently, with the availability of beautiful AI tools, you can make your graphical abstract stand out, and people will love to read it. So for that, I like to give gift. So my gift for you today, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful 3 AI tools that I'm going to share with you about making a graphical abstract. One of them is called Mind the Graph. Such a beautiful tool that you can use for free. And as you can see, when you click on it and make an account, you will given the options to create a graphical abstract, infographic, or poster. So go for graphical abstract. And you can see when you decide that you are from a medicine background, that you will be given a very beautiful icons that can build your abstract. Another one is BioRender. It's a paid version, but there is certain limit for free version, but it also resembles the previous tools. Another beautiful tools that I discovered yesterday is SciSpace, because they keep improving it. And SciSpace can make a visual abstract makers beautifully exactly as you want it. And they have a free account as well. My last question that I'm going to conclude with is when to write the abstract. I guess Dr. Affat gave you already the answer. So abstract is the last thing that we write. I know sometimes we fall in the trap of writing the abstract for conferences if you want to participate in conferences, but the proper structure is to start with the figure tables method result discussion, conclusion and introduction, and then you end with the title abstract. Once everything is complete, then your movie is complete, you are able to do the trailer. One last point I have to mention is the keywords, because it is part of the abstracts. Some people doesn't give it the proper attention that it requires, and they think that it is okay to repeat the same words that it is available in the titles. Don't do that. In the digital world, keywords determine whether anyone ever finds your paper. Not watch it, but actually finding it. So avoid having too broad words, or avoid using such a very specific that no one can find it, or repeating word that it is already in the title, because your title and keywords is actually what is the mesh words that people look into medical papers. Do not use abbreviations or brand names as a keywords, and don't ignore the journal's controlled vocabulary list. You will see with Dr. Ruwaida when she shows you about how to submit a paper, some journals actually will have a bank of vocabulary lists that you can select from it, and they can tell you it's from 3 to 5 or 10. So make sure that you include the population, the intervention, the outcome, PICO, and check the keywords for the, and when you do that, my advice for you is you decided these keywords, go to PubMed, search for it. If it gives results, you are in the safe place. If it didn't, think again. So my final key takeaway for you, write the abstract class, use the 5-layer latte, numbers speak louder than objectives, know your journal, and language is not an optional. So make sure you seek peer feedback, review the guidelines, draft and write, and enjoy your brew. It is actually the moment of pride to write your abstract, because you completed. This is like you're reaching the end stage of your paper. And I break a checklist for you to make your abstract stand out. I will share it as well with the organizer, that they will share it with you. My final tip for you, never call your paper or your abstract final, because you know final is going to Genset and you're going to have a final. So just give the date that you did it. There are some essential resources that I'm going to share for you. And with that, I end this presentations. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me check if there is any burning questions that I need to answer. I cannot close the questions. You get the slides. People will give you the slide. What about using visual abstract? Farheen, I guess I told you that about the tools, but again, I can write them in the chat and the organizer is going to share it with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruwaida. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar, for this presentation. I really enjoyed it. Now, my topic is writing a strong introduction, and just, okay. Now, in this session, I'm going to go with you on how to locate reliable academic articles and how to structure your introduction logically and to have a strong structured introduction, and to analyze and formulate a clear research gap with a clear research question, aim, and objectives. So my first question is, have you ever written an introduction and okay. If you can, please scan the QRS code and answer the question.
Dr. Ruwaida, you are not on presentation mode on your PowerPoint. So maybe you need to click on the presentation icon.
Okay. Yep. I will share my screen.
No, right now you're not sharing your screen. Yeah, you've started sharing your screen now. We can see it. Yeah, perfect. That's right.
Okay. Sorry for that. And okay. So like 77% answered yes and 23% answered no. And sorry. It's good to know that many of you have really worked on writing an introduction. I have written a few, my own, during my PhD, but the thing is, we can always improve in our writing skills. Just to start with a research title, a good research title needs to be aligned with your aims and even sometimes with your methodology. It needs to be clear, specific, accurate, and concise. Not too long, easy to understand, really focused, and it's really aligned with your aims and methods. It needs to control, include key variables, the outcome and the population, and sometimes the design. Similar to this example, association between sleep duration and academic performance among university students, a cross-sectional study. And you can see all of these components that are mentioned here are in this example. And here you can see sometimes the design comes also in the title. And the setting is sometimes included, but at times it doesn't need to be very, very specific. Choose the right words. For example, in a cross-sectional study, avoid using words that shows, for example, determinants, predictors. We don't use them in cross-sectional study design title. You might choose association, relationship. And as I said in the title, according to the cross-sectional design, you might, for example, if you're doing a systematic review, it needs to be in the title. If you're doing qualitative studies, it's also, it gives it more clarity, and it will be linked to the methods. You avoid using vague or too broad terms. Make it match your methods, because this is a common mistake. If you're using predictors and it's a cross-sectional, it might not be good indicating. So your title should be clearly reflecting what you studied, who you studied, and how you studied it. Keep it focused and informative. Now, why introductions matter? Because they set the tone, set the context, background, and the context of the study. It really reflects the importance and worth of the study. In the introduction, it's need to tell the audience what is still unknown, why the study is important. Establish purpose and significance. So once you tell the audience what is not known, then you set the stage to tell them why the potential of your study. And then at the end, or in the introduction, you mention your research question or aims and objectives. So it is really important to set the tone and direction. What is this research? It's like the roadmap for the manuscript. And why is it important? A strong introduction, as I said, must establish the background, identify the gap, provide the rationale, and clearly tells you what the manuscript aims to accomplish. So it tells the story of why the study is needed to exist. So a really important part of writing an introduction is using reliable articles. So what is a reliable article?
And why do we need to find reliable articles for our study? It's better to use databases. Databases are specialized type of data data storing, organizing tools where scholarly articles, scientific articles are included. So the most well-known databases, all of us, we know PubMed, Medline, Cochrane, Embas, CINAHL, Scopus, Web of Science, Clinical Key, and Google Scholar. I put it last because usually the other databases are more popular and more reliable in finding peer-reviewed journals. So, for example, Cochrane is for high-quality systematic review. You will find more there. Embas, strong for pharmacology and drug research. CINAHL, cumulative index for nursing and allied health literature, is mainly in CINAHL. Scopus, mainly medical, scientific, and technical research. Clinical Key provides full text books, journals, and clinical answers. So a good starting point, though less precise than specialized databases, is Google Scholar. So finding reliable resources, you need to, before you start looking, you need to have an overview of the topic. So if you have a research idea in your head and you want to start, go find a clinical summary that is up to date and read it. Once you have developed a broader idea on the topic, you go and explore. You look into a database, such as PubMed. You use simple keywords to find, and it is here you will use it to find detailed, high-quality evidence. And when you're looking for the evidence, try to select a systematic review, an up-to-date one, find a good one, and then you will use it to find from the list of references. You can find more and expand the search to broaden and refine your search based on the systematic review. You can find related article, more studies from the reference list and the articles cited by the systematic review. So this is a starting point for you. And as I said, this is how you go. Use a clinical summary to get to understand, and to explore, use a database. And in Google Scholar, if you find a systematic review, you can find these citations or reference list of that up-to-date systematic review. So you can use mesh terms for PubMed, and you can start with a systematic review or meta-analysis. The background of the systematic review is going to be similar to your background. So you can have a look at the resources that they have used. Try to find the references within the last 5 to 10 years, up to date. If the references, if there is a very strong book or the main article, you can include a few articles that are more than 10 years, but they need to be a very strong evidence to include. And my advice, use citation management app early, and we're going to discuss it tomorrow. But as you write, keep on using them. So to conduct a database search, as Dr. Afat mentioned about the research question, you need to start with the research question, and according to it, you start selecting the database. So you better start with PubMed, but if your research question is related to, for example, pharmacology, you can use, for example, for pharmacology, it's Embas mainly. So it depends on your research question. So start by selecting the database. If you're not, you can start with PubMed, develop the research term, and I will tell you about mesh terms, and combine them, Boolean words. You run the search. When you run the search, you screen the results, the article that comes out, which one is suitable, do full text screening, and update the search. So what are mesh terms? Mesh terms are medical subject heading. They are standardized and they are used in databases to organize and index articles. And they are official subject labels. When you write your abstract, you will use them. And when you do the search, also you will use them. For example, words like heart attack, myocardial infarction, in mesh, they are both grouped under myocardial infarction. So they are used to find articles. So developing the research term, for example, here, if you're looking into a topic of effect of exercise on heart disease, you have two main concepts here, exercise and heart disease. So you go to, for example, ChatGPT and ask him, find for me synonyms for these two words. And it will provide you with a list of synonyms for them. And you take each of this and you combine them with Boolean operators. And I'm going to explain about these. Once you combine them, you might use truncation. You can see exercise. You can see the star here because the word exercise can be exercise, exercises, exercising mentioned in the title or in the abstract. So in order to find all of these options, you use truncation to capture variations of the word. And you will apply phrase searching. You will use quotation marks. And you will use, as I said, mesh also in your search. So what is these Boolean words? And when you want to use both terms, and the search will, you will find the area here that combines the two words. If you want it to be wider, you can use or. So it will capture the word A for exercise and physical activity, for example. So you use or. It will capture the whole spectrum of these two words. Not only one term. For example, as I mentioned here, the effect of exercise on heart disease. We mentioned exercise and heart disease, and we looked for options. I did, for example, exercise. It's exercise or physical activity or fitness. And you can see exercise here, I put star, and physical activity, I put star because I want to capture the variations of the word. Why did I put or? Because I want to the search to capture both. Okay. And here, heart disease, I looked for heart disease and cardiovascular disease. And I put star because I want diseases to be also and put or between them. And between these two words, I used and because I want the articles to have both in them. Now, to look for mesh terms, you go into PubMed. And here at the bottom, you will find this word mesh. You press on it. And it will take you to the page where you find mesh terms. I wrote here exercise next to mesh. And I did search and I found a list of words and I picked one. You can see here exercise, you see the tick. And I press here add to search. It was PubMed search builder. I copy it from there and I took it back to my search terms. So here you can see exercise, this same search string, I added to it the exercise mesh. And I did heart disease and I found the mesh words, two mesh words, and I added them as or. Okay, so now when you search, sometimes in PubMed you will not find the full article. If you want, you can use this tool to help you find a full text article as well. So now let us do the search in on the databases. How do I remove this one? Okay. Sorry, just 1 minute. So when you go to your organizational electronic, you go to databases, and when you press databases, it will take you to a list of databases, and you will pick, for example, under P, you will find PubMed. And when you find PubMed, you press on advanced. And there you will find, you can see here the mesh that I told you. You can press it and go do the mesh search. For example, let us see the this one that we have mentioned, exercise with the star. You copy it. Okay, here when you select title abstract and you add it up. You see the query box, it's added already. And you go for physical activity, for example. Also, I wanted title abstract, but what I will use here, I will use or. Now I will take the mesh word. I'm sure that there is a mesh word for exercise. If I can find it from here also. If it is present, I will find it also from here. So I will end it with or. Now with the heart disease, I will use here also, I'll go back to title and abstract, and I will add it with or and. I will add it with and. Cardiovascular disease, you can see the truncation because I want variation of the word. Here I will add it with and or, it's or because it's the same concept. And the last one, I will add one mesh and I will do the search for you. I can look it for here mesh word, but it's already, so it is or, and I will do the search. You can see I have 80,000. You don't want that. You try to a little bit do some restrictions. Better that to have within the last year. I'll make it in the last 6 years. You can see that the number has dropped. I will select for text. I selected earlier clinical study, observational study, systematic review. I can apply additional filters. I selected the English, only humans. Let it be only male studies that, for example, you can use more synonyms to narrow the search. Still, I used a few, so that's why it's not really a good search string. You can see I have here articles, and you see the PDF here. So if an article doesn't have a PDF in the search, you use the link that I put for you, the Sci-Hub, you can get it from there. To have PDF here, it's better when you do Zotero with the EndNote to insert EndNote click, because it will help you find these PDFs here in the PubMed. So when you find them, you will select them and you send them to your citation manager. All the results on this page, or I can pick one. If only the one I selected two, for example, these articles, I want them, because you can see in the title some of the articles. So here I did my selection, or I can do the whole page. It depends. And I will create a file, which I will take later on to my citation manager. Okay, the EndNote or Zotero or whatever. So this is how we search for citation for reliable articles. So it's a brief introduction for that. Now, back to our introduction, when you write an introduction, remember, you will always go from general to specific, from what is known to what is unknown, and at the end, from the gap to your goal. So in an introduction structure, it's the background, gap, rationale, and aim. This is how it is structured. And so the background, you write what is known, you go from global to regional to the local, to the UAE. And in the gap, you look at what is missing, what is unclear, what is unstudied, and you try to identify the gap and the rationale, why your study fills this gap, and then you state what is your aim. So it has a funnel shape. Okay, so global context, regional context, local, identifying the gap, then the aims of your study. For example, here you can see if you're talking about obesity is increasing in the world, you find some statistic, you find really reliable reports from WHO and from reliable resources. You go into regional in the Gulf countries, what are the rates, what does the evidence show, and you provide a few resources, at least one. Then you move to your local context, and you find reliable resources, articles, data, reports, and you present them. Then you look at the gap. For example, you identified that a systematic review reported that the most recent studies are really outdated, so you put it as a gap. In the rationale, you put why is it important to study this area, and you put the aim of your study. So it's in identifying the gap, 3 questions to ask. What is missing? What is unclear? And who hasn't been studied? So, and you write a good gap sentence, and you try to reference it. So writing little is known about X without citing any evidence, it's a common mistake. Always cite what has been done, then identify what is still is missing. And with the rationale of your study, you need to mention why your study is important. Why should we care? Why does this matter for this population? For example, it's important to improve patient care, helps in early diagnosis. For example, mental health literacy is important for detection of mental illnesses, and it helps improve patient care and support policy decisions. So you need to mention the rationale. Now, how to move from topic to a problem? If you have an idea, study idea, very simple one, like vitamin D deficiency in adults. So it is broad. You need to narrow it. You will mention, for example, who and where and what. Now it becomes more narrowed and focused. The prevalence and associated factors of vitamin D deficiency in adults, not just where in Abu Dhabi, attending primary care clinics in Abu Dhabi. So this is more narrowed, the topic. And what is the gap? What is still missing? Limited data on prevalence. You went through a search and you were able to identify an outdated resource. You don't say no evidence or no data. Use the word limited because maybe there is, and your search didn't capture it. So, if there is a reference, you need to cite it. You turn your topic into a study idea. So the problem and the gap is a good study idea. So the problem is vitamin D deficiency is common in UAE, and the data, no local data in Abu Dhabi or limited, then this is a good study idea. Now you need to turn your study idea into a research question. Then you write the aims and objectives. Your idea is like to prevalence and association of vitamin D deficiency in adults attending primary care clinics in Abu Dhabi, the one that we mentioned earlier. So when you write the research question, it needs to be aligned with your research title or topic. So what is the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency among adults attending primary care clinics in Abu Dhabi, UAE? And what are the factors associated with vitamin D deficiency in this population? And your study aim needs to be like one sentence, providing the big picture to determine the prevalence and associating factors of vitamin D deficiency among adults attending primary care clinic in Abu Dhabi. And choosing the words is really important. If you decide to do a cohort study, you can use predictors. If you're doing a cross-sectional, use associated factors. So your objectives are more specific, measurable steps. As Dr. Effat mentioned about the research question, the FINER, it's a practical version of the FINER, and you can see it mentioned it's feasible, interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. And here the aim is like one sentence, big picture, and the objectives are more specific and measurable to estimate the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency among adults and to identify demographic and lifestyle-related factors associated with vitamin D deficiency in this population, more specific. And as Dr. Effat mentioned earlier about the research question, feasible, it needs to be, can it be done within the resources, skills, and participants that you have? It needs to be interesting, engaging, and novel, confirm. It needs to add something ethical, and it needs to be relevant, as mentioned earlier. And with the aims and objectives, they need to be aligned to the topic, title of that study, and the method. So the aim is broad, a statement of the study purpose. The structure is similar to that. You need what does it you aim to investigate, assess, evaluate, or explore? What is the main topic and in what population and setting? For example, to assess the effect of X on Y in a population setting, the effect of exercise on heart disease in adults in attending primary care clinics in Abu Dhabi. And with the objectives, it needs to be more specific measurable steps and aligned with the methods to measure a variable X using something, to measure outcome X using the tool or method, to analyze and compare X and Y using the statistical method, to identify factors associated with the outcomes. For example, here, association between sleep duration and academic performance. This is the aim, to assess the relationship between sleep duration, academic performance among undergraduate students. And the objective are more practical steps to measure average sleep duration using self-reported sleep questionnaire, to assess academic performance using GPA records, to analyze the relationship between sleep duration and GPA using correlation analysis, to identify other factors associated with academic performance. You can see they are really linked to the topic and aim, and also linked to the methodologies. So the aim shows the relationship, the objective measurement, and it reflects some of the analysis steps, and they need to be aligned. For example, here, burnout among medical interns. We need to write a structured introduction. Start by writing one line. What is burnout? Use a standard definition. Global context. What is known worldwide on burnout among medical interns? Narrow it down to regional. Write one sentence about GCC and MENA region. Focus on the local context, study or in a hospital or in the UAE. What is the gap and rationale? Then you move on to what is the research question, aim, and objective. Sometimes in the introduction, the research question is not there, just the aim and objective, it's fine. So model answer would be, you start, for example, in the introduction by writing the definition of burnout, and global context. Burnout is highly prevalent. You can write statistics is much better. So you narrow it down. Burnout among healthcare professionals reported to be high in the GCC, and you write citation. There need to be a reference here. And better if there is statistical numbers, you can include them. 2 out of 3 or 25%, you try to include it. Medical interns experience high workload and stress in the UAE with the evidence and citation. However, limited data exists on the prevalence of burnout medical student in Abu Dhabi. So you did the search and you reference it and you provided the gap. Why this study is important? Understanding burnout. You put why is it important for this topic, and you write. No need sometimes in the manuscript to write the research question, but you write it for yourself and you generate the aim and the objectives. Here you can say this study aims to determine specifically. Sometimes you put it numerically, sometimes you put it in paragraph format, the objectives. So as I said, topic, you start, what is the topic? What is known globally? What is known regionally? What is known locally? Identifying the gap, what is missing, not well studied. Why is it important to know about it for this population? And you look at the aim and the objectives that are more specific steps. This is a introduction from a Lancet article. You can search it. It's a really nice article. I took a screenshot. You can see it's really short. Usually, introductions need to be 10 to 20% of the total manuscript. So depending on the journal guidelines, you determine how much would be the word count for that. Like 200, 300, it depends on the total word count of the article. And you can see in the Lancet, it's really brief, to the point. And looking at this same introduction, you can see in the first few sentences, they looked at the background, the global importance, the first sentence. They moved to the background, the broad impact, explained how kidney disease affects more than kidneys, impact the whole population, clinical consequences, the adverse outcomes, global significance, connect to global mortality burden. Then here in these 2 sentences, they narrow it down to the developing countries and risk factor and future burden. Then here in 7, they set the setting China. They talk about China. Why China, justifies China as an important setting, existing evidence and explanation, identifying the gap. What is missing? Identifies the lack of national surveys using GFR and albuminuria in developing country. Data is rare. Then they state their aim. Okay. Another study, a systematic review from a Lancet as well, Lancet Public Health. You can see it's really brief, doesn't need to be too much word, but it's really informative. You can see in the first few sentences, they cover the background. They talk about global burden of diabetes, chronic complication, oral disease as unrecognized complication, and then they establish the problem. Evidence exists, but inconsistent, differences in study designs, population outcomes, shared risk factor, low level of evidence, need for research is 3rd, identifying gaps, looking at the importance, why is it important, expanding evidence base, need for rigorous synthesis, and then they go into their aim. So this is how a good introduction is really structured. So the introduction formula, background, gap, rationale, and aim, funnel from global to regional to local with citation at every level. And use citation management app from the beginning. It will make it easy. Cite what exists first, then identify precisely what is missing. Provide the rationale, write your aims and objectives. Sometimes you need to write a literature review for research proposal. Usually manuscript, it's only introduction. But in writing research proposal, you need to write a very short introduction and you go write a literature review. Literature review structure is somehow similar to what I mentioned earlier, but here with the with the writing, when you write it, so you can see the structure here in the literature review section of a proposal It's similar to what I mentioned about the introduction, but here the thematic and chronological discussion is much wider and it's much organized. And here you need not just to list the literature that you find, you need to engage with them, discuss them, understand them, and really you need to analyze them. So a common pitfall is listing studies without analysis in a literature review part of a proposal. You need to analyze it. You need to discuss it, look at how they are aligned and such. So you need to synthesize, not summarize, compare findings and trends. It is similar to what I have mentioned earlier about introduction, but here you start a brief background. The thematic chronological discussion is much more developed. You highlight the gaps and go directly to your one thing you have learned today, I want you to screen. Okay. Just let me find the question. Can you see my screen? Okay, just 1 minute.
Yes.
Can you please scan the QR code and share with us what you have learned from this part of the session? Short sentences. Clarity on writing an introduction and significance, the systematic approach, the introduction formula, improving my PubMed search, how to structure introduction well, how to write introduction very organized way, be systematic and know what you are writing about. The structure of introduction would start from global to aim. So really good that it was helpful. Thank you very much for attendance. These are my references. And you will find the recording on the YouTube channel. Thank you. Now, I think
Dr. Ruwaida, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think in the schedule, we have a 15 minutes break. It would be because we're a bit over time. Can we take it only 10 minutes? For Sami and
Sure.
yeah. So we'll go for 10 minutes break and we'll be back at 10:40.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you, Dr.
one
Ruwaida.
thing for people going, because we're on a break, please don't leave the webinar. Please stay on, because if you leave, there might be a problem in joining back. So please don't leave. We'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay, so I hope you're back. And I know it was a very short break, but if you had your espresso, you will be able to wake up faster. And I'll be sharing my screen to go forward with the section that I think everybody have it in mind, and AI and literature search and manuscript development. So the real Shakespearean question, shall I use AI or not? To be or not to be? So I would like you, ladies and gentlemen, my dear scientists and fellow peers, is to move away from the mental model of, can AI replace my statistician? Or should I use ChatGPT instead of hiring a medical writer? This is not the right mindset that you need to have in mind. AI is never, ever, ever, ever going to replace the person or a title at any way. Never, ever. So the new mental model, and I would like to say that this resource is from Mr. Baras, and he is a very well-known medical academicians, and an AI expert that I follow on LinkedIn. The new mental model that you need to have in mind is what workflow-based thinking. So the right question is, what are the specific tasks involved in getting my manuscript written from idea to submission that can AI do faster, cheaper, or better? That's the mindset that I would like you to have. And as you can see in this infographic, manuscript's life cycle is a very big one. So honestly, covering it in 2 days is considered like a miracle, because we're trying to give you the tip of iceberg, but each one of them will require a complete workshop, which starting from refining your questions, PubMed search, as Dr. Ruwaida showed us before the break, screening the references, building your REDCap databases even, or your citation manager, building a cleaning test, data cleaning, select a statistical test, in which Dr. Ahmad is going to tell us after this session, build result tables, draft the introductions. So at any of these stages, AI can replace tasks, but not people. And the most important thing that I would like you to keep hanging in the back of your mind, that AI hallucinate. AI is not the perfect medical writer that you take without checking. I dare you, like if you have a student, would you take their assignment and send it to the conferences or publication without reading it? You never do that. So consider AI exactly the same. Actually, I was preparing for this lecture last night because, this is the problem. Whenever I sign up for AI lectures, I need to prepare it just exactly before the lecture start because, honestly, AI the mindset and the framework of AI keep changing every day, actually every minute. Actually, I was staying up to 4 a.m. working on the slides. But I love when I was reading this beautiful resemblance. Like, people were having this debate whether I disclose that I use AI or I don't. If I disclose that I'm using AI, does this make me an inferior scientist or an inferior medical doctor? So is it good to disclose or doesn't? I need you to change your mindset, because AI is a way, or instead of using the shovel, let me move this away, and instead of using a shovel in which you write a clinical manuscript taking you over 50 hours, looking for the references, summarizing them, trying to read a big bunch of PDF, and we know that in our world, like 10,000 papers are published on a daily basis. And this was our life before ChatGPT, before the AI. But after the AI era, now we have no longer digging. We are operating a heavy machine, ladies and gentlemen. But the key word here is that we are the one who are operating this machine, is not the other way around. Like yesterday when I was like looking at one of the AI tools, it kept telling me, prove that you are a human. So it was like showing me some photos of bags or cars, and wanted to make sure that a human is there in the loop. And to take this discussion further to another level, it's not about AI ChatGPTs or the LLMs, large language models. Keep in mind it's called a generative. So generative, what does that mean? It predicts the next word based on this algorithm, based on this big data of training that's been used on. It's like a fuzzy memory, So this is why it's prone for hallucinations, and it is completely unsafe for clinical research to ask GPT or Claude or whoever to write a paper for you from A to Z. Today, I'm going to introduce you to some. There is millions of AI tools that comes every day. So I will be introducing you to some of them that actually built by academicians for academicians, by scientists to scientists. Those search engines that looks at the live databases, peer-reviewed papers, it synthesizes the answers based on the resources that you have. It gives you in-text citations to ensure that there are validations of the resources and the triangulation that we would like to know. So my clear message for you is that machines can mimic language. Only human can make it matter. So please, 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 please don't use the regular LLMs to produce and write your papers. This is not a right practice at all. Again, what are the samples? So, because we have some physicians here in the room, for clinical research, what is exactly the specific process you can adopt, not tomorrow, even today after this lecture? Define the questions and protocol before even going to AI explorations. So when you go to AI to brainstorm, you need to have your question in your mind. You need to have a clear direction about where you're going, exactly like when you are using your GPS. You need to put the destination, isn't it? Or it will be wandering around, 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 around. So exactly the same. AI is your GPS. It depends on the destination that you put, then you will reach. Use AI to expand terms and identify signal papers, record prompts, and this is what I'm going to explain in a minute. Run formal search in the databases. So Dr. Ruwaida showed us how to do it the old way. With AI, I'm going to show you how you do it the faster way. How you can screen and extract with the human review in the loop, draft a script from your own notes and verified evidence. You use AI for clarity check, for for brief reading, verify the citations, the numbers, the quotations, and the journal policy before submission. This is very important. And I have seen in the question and answer people saying, shall I disclose or how I disclose? Yes, you need to disclose, and this is all the journals now. When you read their guidelines for authors, it says that you need to disclose your AI use. And they have different format, like you disclose the prompts, you disclose the date, you disclose the tools that you use, and some of them will just require a disclosure by say. So you need to add a disclosure statement when you use AI, and there is no shame here in using AI. So if you remember earlier, I asked you ask yourself where AI can fit. So AI can help you in defining your questions once you have a clear idea. There are so many beautiful tools that has been developed in which you can come up with your PICO questions. With extraction your keywords. Remember before the break, we talked about the importance of keywords. So AI can help you with coming with the proper keywords to improve visibility of your papers. It helps you in finding the literature, screening it and extracting. Synthesis, by writing and revising, like it outlined the language, the abstract, the cover letter, and verify and disclose. You as a human need to verify and disclose the references. So the key role here is use AI to accelerate your thinking and organizations, not outsource your scientific responsibility, data interpretations, authorship decisions, or final actual checking. It is on you because your name is written on that paper. It is your responsibility. And I think some of you read about so many articles that has been retracted after submissions because they use AI without disclosing, and they use it the wrong way, the irresponsible way. So this is what you need to avoid. So let's stop talking so much about the mindset, and let's move about the AI tools that you use, because I know that most of you are looking for this. So there is a question that we had a lot among the AI experts in academia. Shall we use one tool only and become an expert in that tool, or shall we use multiple tools? So I hope that the chat is open so I can get to know your thoughts. But ladies and gentlemen, my dear peers, it's actually using the right tool for the right job. So I saw that some of you are pharmacist background, so you know that it is our mantra is to give the right drug, the right dose, the right route to the right patient. Exactly the same. I'm from a pharmacy background. So exactly the same. You use the proper tool to what it was developed for. There is no this comprehensive AI tool that can do everything. super agentic, maybe in the future. But at this current moment, we have specific tools for a specific application. And this is what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, in the coming minutes to show you what each tool can do. Of course, with the limited time that I have, I'm going just only to give you the tip of the iceberg. But if you would like to have a deeper one, maybe you can read the resources available, watch, follow some influencers, or you can reach out to me. So the integrated workflow engine is what I would like you to keep in mind. Remember when we started with the task? So again, looking at the specific task and what tool that you can use. And today I'm going to introduce you to 5 or 6 tools that it is very important for you as a start to help you in writing your manuscript and getting your resources. And they are free. So again, we start with the initial planning, and this is on you. Defining the objective, the message, the inclusion criteria, the exclusion criteria, the study design, it's on you. Of course, if you are still juniors, you will have a PI, you will have a senior scientist or a researcher who can support you, but this is human part. Then you would like to have orientation, like to map the broad context, uncover guidelines, to know what is existing. This is where Perplexity will be so helpful for you. Later on, you want to verify and review. Consensus, size, space, and illicit will help you in extracting, screening, and mapping the peer review evidence. If you want to synthesis, to have this draft, Notebook LM can help you in addition to a human. If you want to have critical verifications, cite beside a human, and this is what Dr. Ruwaida is going to tell us about the references tomorrow, inshallah. Documentation, human, be transparent, record your AI used for the target journal. So if some of you are familiar with the Swiss cheese model, this is a very beautiful, I don't know if some of you watch Tom and Jerry, and we always like this cheese that they are eating. So this is the Swiss cheese, it has holes. And the reason we use it a lot, especially in quality and safety, is because in our work, we don't want these holes to align, because the minute they are aligned, the chances of mistakes are higher, which is the hallucinations. So having this multiple tools, multiple layers, with the orientation, with the deep dive, with the safety check, with the synthesis, with different AI tools would help you that your final outcomes is of good quality and as little hallucination as we can. And again, I cannot emphasize enough that you as a human should use your skills from tasting to recognize the elegance of your research, that you are covering a gap, critical sense to detect any kind of something, because you know, AI will give you these beautiful fancy words that look plausible, but it's false. And there are some AI tools that only work in the abstract, so they don't dig deeper. So it is on you as a human to have this critical sense. And you are the one who are controlling all the aspect of the manuscript development. So let me start by a beautiful framework that I would like you to keep in mind before we start exploring the tools. You know, there are a science called prompt engineering. So whenever you are talking to the AI, this is the language. Like, for example, let's say that you are planning a trip this summer for Italy, for example. The first thing that you will try to understand is their vocabulary, their languages. So similarly, when you are working with an AI, you need to know how to talk to the AI. So there are so many frameworks out there. One of them that I find really useful is the, let me move this from your side, the RTCO formula. The R goes for the role, like for example, act as a senior public health researcher. Act as a senior clinic, for example, some of you were mentioning systematic review, an expert in systematic review. So give it a persona, give it a role, because then they will know what to, not to give you some like lay answers. It will know that it need to assume that role. The T goes for the task, so identify exactly what you want them to do, like identify research systematic review on a certain topic that you identify. The E goes for evidence. So it's very important to mention in your prompt, use peer-reviewed sources. Show me the citation, show me the DOIs, show me the references, you know, don't hallucinate. Don't fool me. Don't create fake resources because I'm going to check it after you. I'm not going to trust you. And one important formula that I would like to add for you is the constraints. Like give it exactly what to do and not what to do. Like, for example, the limitations. Flag any weak or uncertain evidence. Do not hallucinate. Do not create information that is not accurate. So you give it the constraints. Or, for example, your exclusion criteria, mention it there in your prompt. And finally, tell them what is the output. Because, some of us get so frustrated, AI doesn't understand me. It's not your soulmate to understand you. It's actually you fail in giving it the right instruction. So tell it, give me as a table. Give me as a figure, as an infographic. Give me as an outcomes. Exactly what the output you are looking out of your discussions with the AI tools. An example, act as a public health researcher, find peer-reviewed studies from 2020 to 2026 on caregivers' digital interventions for childhood food allergy. Summarize the evidence in a table with design, population, intervention, outcome limitation, and citation link. Flag weak on uncertain evidence. This is the best way to communicate with AI. Give it a clear information that they don't guess. Take the guess out of the formula. Again, you know me, I'm in the mood of giving a gift today. So another gift I shared with you, and Mr. Sami already shared with you, is 100 Best ChatGPT Prompts book that has been shared with me yesterday. SubhanAllah, it was like timely for you guys. It has a table of content about a specific aspect of the paper, like if you are looking for reading, summarizing a literature, methodological design, identifying novel research question, grant writing, data cleaning and analysis. What is the best prompt that you use based on the framework that I shared with you? Okay, so I know that all of you are looking for the tools. Show me the tools. So we will start with Perplexity, one of my favorite, because it has been created by academicians for academicians. And the good thing that I love about Perplexity is that it covers a huge background of resources. It goes to YouTube, it goes to internet, it goes to literature. It's very beautiful when you are starting your survey. This is why we call it the orientations. So when you are surveying the landscape before digging into the foundations, this is where Perplexity will become so handy for you. So with Perplexity, you ask a focused research questions, you request peer-reviewed or official sources, you open that site sources, because the beautiful thing about Perplexity is that it gives you index citations in which is it clickable, so you can click on it and actually read the full article. You can export it into your reference notes like EndNote or Zotero, as Dr. Ruwaida is going to teach us tomorrow. And you can keep rerunning with the narrower terms after reading it. So you start big and then you start narrowing it. I give you prompt examples and I giving you some tips here. Like don't cite Perplexity itself. Because we said that we need to disclose, isn't it? So when you have the resources, don't say that the resources is Perplexity. No, cite the original paper or guideline or report in which you identify the information from. And exactly, it's like Google. When you don't cite Google, or Google Scholar, you cite the paper that you find out of it. And of course, you need to check and make sure to read the whole paper, because sometimes it may give you a generic claims that it is not in the paper. And this is something that we noticed. So Perplexity, it describes itself as an AI answer engine. And actually, they created their own Google nowadays, Rocket, I guess. Dr. Ahmad, I think this is what they call it at the moment. So it's an answer engine anymore. It's similarly like Google, but with an academic experience and trusted answer. So let me take you to Perplexity. Let me stop sharing slides. And let me share my screen again. Right. So I hope that you are with me. So this is Perplexity. So how can you reach to Perplexity? I don't know. If you know Perplexity, please write for me in the Q&A that you know it, so I don't spend a lot of time explaining it and we move to another tool. If you don't know it, so I can spend time explaining it. So how you can find Perplexity? Simply go into your Google, write Perplexity, and you will find it there. Perplexity, this is it. and then this is its icon, and then you log in using your Google account or whatever account that you have, and this is Perplexity. So the beautiful thing about it is it has different models. So there is a paid version, by the way, and there is a free version, and sometimes if you are from academia, they can give you a free access for their paid pro version. But believe me, with the free version that you have, you can do wonders, and this is why I love it. And you can see here that you have so many things, your history is there. You have even a beautiful thing in which you can connect with connectors, like you can connect it with, for example, your Outlook, your HubSpot, certain AI tools that you are using, or organizational skills that you are using. You can connect it even with skills, so you can create skills. I know that today I'm just giving you the appetizers. If you want the whole dish, 30 minutes is not going to be enough. But you can explore it by yourself. It is really friendly, and you can explore it by yourself. So you can give it certain skills, so you can create your skills, how you would like your Perplexity to work. Like only to summarize the finding for you, to give you a table with the outcomes with a selected specific resources, not from the YouTube, for example, just only from the paper, or specify what type of paper that you want. You can give it an example skills also if you have, and you can upload it into your Perplexity. And you can talk with it. Like, let me show you some kind of discussion that I have. So currently I'm interested with pharmacogenomics in pediatric. Okay, so I asked the questions. It was a very broad, because again, I told you, I'm just trying to see the landscape. So it started by giving me a summary. It gave me why it matters, the common examples, the clinical use, the practical limitations. And as you can see, with each of these, I have the resources. So they use 3 resources to answer this. If I click on this, these resources really exist. So I can read it and verify that the information that they provided is really available in this paper. So this is really helpful, especially with the hallucination that we have with the other resources. And not only that, so basically, this is what it answers. If I click on this link, I can see all the references that they use to identify the answers for the question that I asked them. And if I click any of these resources, like beautifully, they use the ClinBGX, for example, which is a very trusted resources for pharmacogenomics. So I can click on these resources, I can use them, I can read them, and I can explore them, extract them into my reference managers. Not only that, so sometimes when you are preparing the presentations or a graphical abstract, you need some images. If you click in the image, you will find all the images that is available in these resources to support you. And some of us are visuals, like some of us like visuals before reading the text. So you can find the visuals that meet your interest, and then you can go further and read the whole articles. Beautiful tool. And it follow up with questions, so it understands what you are asking and try to narrow it down. So you continue discussing with it, and you can even have this brainstorming activities with Perplexity. Of course, it all depends on the prompt. So my prompt was completely general, and this is intentionally. But as I show you with the framework, you need to have your prompts so detailed so you don't waste time. The more you have your prompts well written, you will save a lot of time. And again, you can export the discussion that you have here as a PDF. You can export it as a document. You can add it to your space, so you can have it as a project, and you can bookmark it for another day, or you can share it with your team member. So if you are working on a certain project, instead of your team member starting from 0, you can share with it, and they can build upon it. Very beautiful tool to start your search journey. Beautiful. So let's move on to the next tool that I have prepared for you, which is Elicit. So Elicit, it's a very beautiful tool, again, built by academicians for academicians, and it is about literature search to help you with entering a research question. It will review title and abstract exactly as if you're doing a systematic review or scoping review. It adds extractions columns for you, so it can help you to export it as CSV table, and it can manually verify full text and eligibility. This is the prompt I put for you here, and the strength, it's useful for broad screening and extraction, but again, some AI extracted field can be wrong, especially with the free version. So treat every extraction cells with cautious and check it as a human. Again, this is where it's very important to have you in the loop, because you need to check it. So let me show you Elicit. So this is Elicit. I actually have two accounts. I have the pro version and I have the free version. But again, with the free version, it works wonders and it serves the purposes as a starter. If you're doing a lot of systematic review like me, then the pro version will be useful. So this is exactly how elicits look like. So you ask the questions, you can see that it have a reading mode. It will give you the resources from and it give you the PDF or the DOI for the text, so you can make sure that this is real. Actually, if you click it, you can actually find the references there. And okay, let me start by showing you another one. So this is the discussion that I have with the free version. I just asked it about TikTok, for example, and mental health. And you can see that it went through the resources. It gave me an answer. And this answer, again, have an in-text citation. So I can go and read this one. And then I can view the 5-cited resources exactly as Perplexity. And I can chat with the tool in a better way. Or as I show you earlier, you can actually use it for a systematic review. For a free version, systematic review will be not allowed, but if you have a paid version, you can do a systematic review completely. But again, it's not that accurate. You need to dig deeper and check it better, because sometimes the outcomes will not be accurate. And it can create a PDF resource like exactly this one. You can, by the way, chat with the paper here. You can edit the columns. You can add more columns for it to work from here. Like you are interested for the limitation, for example. You are interested in knowing the tools. And you can even decide the structure, how you want AI to produce the result. Do you want it to have specific fields, or you want it to give you as a column? And you can see at each of one of these outcomes, you can click on it and you can find exactly the supporting codes from the paper, so you can double check the information that has been provided. So I'm looking at the Q&A. There are no questions there, so I can proceed. Again, I'm just showing you the menu here. The second tool that I would like to introduce for you is SciSpace. It is a very beautiful tool that has a great momentum at the moment. It has a high speed. So this is where you can use AI to save a lot of the 50 hours that we were spending before on writing a paper. It can go into depth to 250 papers. It produces a deep review, and it has so many beautiful capabilities that I'm going to share with you in a minute. So you can upload paper. You can ask Copilot to explain certain sections. You can ask for specific methods, variables, and outcomes. You can compare, and you can, of course, copy certain verifiable text from it once you verify it. A beautiful prompt that you can use is like explain the paper using, for example, the Strobe criteria. And remember, SciSpace describes tools for literature review, chat with the PDF, writer, research assistant across the large papers. But again, you are needed as a human to verify the resources. So let's go to SciSpace. This is SciSpace, and as you can see, with the free version, you have certain credits. If you paid for it, it's sometimes worth the money. And I have an advice for you. Like some colleagues were asking me, how many AI tools I should pay for? It depends. Like in this month, if you are in a systematic review and you want to do the extraction, pay for SciSpace or for Elicit. Just only for 1 month. You don't need to pay for the whole year, because you're not going to do the systematic review over a whole year, isn't it? So pay your money cleverly, and you use your resources according to your needs. Like if I pay for Elicit this month, khalas, I need really to utilize my money and do all the extraction that I need. Later on, if I need to do, for example, the visual abstract, or I need to do some kind of extractions, then I pay for SciSpace. So I know when you go to the pricing, you will find the yearly subscriptions is usually cheaper than the monthly subscriptions. But what's the point of paying for 1 year and you're not just going to use it for 1 or 2 months? So use your money carefully. So again, SciSpace, a very beautiful place for chatting. It has a library. You can save any discussion that you have with it into a notebook, so you can keep it there and you can go back to it later. It has an agent. It has an AI writer. So there is an AI writer, a process there. It can help you with writing, and you can choose different templates. Like yesterday, I was checking them. There are more than 216 templates that can help you. For example, you can have a template for systematic review strategy, for a systematic review protocol, for risk of bias, for a manuscript. Even for a manuscript, you can, like, for example, And it can give you even the journals, like, is it a Nature template that you would like to write? Is it a Frontiers? It is GMIR. So it's very beautiful as a starting point to write your paper, especially it aligns with the guidelines for authors that we were discussing with you earlier. You can do literature search, you can find topic, you can paraphrase as well. You can have a citation generator. Like sometimes you will have a reference, like for example, a website, and you would like to cite it using the APA style, for example. You put it here and it will generate the citation for you. Very beautiful tool for scientists, honestly. And it can extract data, and it has an AI detector tool. So if you would like to detect the AI, there is a beautiful tool available here. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to walk you through all the elements and have real examples together. But again, I'm just opening your eyes and mind to different tools. My another favorite tool is consensus. Oh, wow. Especially with the consensus meter. Like sometimes you, especially when you are writing the discussions as you are going to see tomorrow, like you would like to see which evidence that agree with you and which evidence that doesn't. So consensus is a very beautiful tool, especially with the consensus meter. I'm going to show you in a minute. What does it do? It again built by academia for academia, and it has a beautiful visualizations for the map. Like you can find articles that maybe you did not find earlier when you're doing your introductions to consolidate your discussion. So consensus, it does look at the literature, it gives you a peer-reviewed evidence, and it works well for focused evidence questions, not for highly administrative facts. So if you're looking for something locally in your country, maybe consensus is not the right place, because it looks mostly on the international evidence. But it is a very beautiful tool for to answer your questions, for giving you resources and citations. So let's try it together. This is consensus. Very beautiful tool. Again, here intentionally I'm using a very broad because I wanted you to see the different resources that you can get. Pharmacogenomics is needed for children. 2 search has been done. You can see the amount of paper that it looks. You can see the resources that it finds. I can ask it here, so I can do chatting with this specific paper. I can go and read the full text as well. And I can see the graph, and I will show you in a minute how is it. And this is the link that it can help you. It gives me a table also with the common clinical impact. It gives me evidence, and all of these are had in-text citations, so I can go and read exactly the references there. Not only that, something beautiful that I found also when you look at the results, it gives you the study design. So it's a randomized clinical trials. This one is an observational study. So it helps you, especially when you want to, for example, when you want to include RCTs or you want to exclude something. So with this, it will help you in saving a lot of time instead of you reading what is the methodology it's available for you here. And not only that, you can even hover over it and you learn more about the study design. Like, you know what observational study is, you know more what is randomized clinical trial is. So it is a very good learning tools as well. And you can go and check the PDF. Again, this is Explore the Graph. A very beautiful visualizations of your paper and its correlation with the different authors. Like this paper, you can see like this is about the 12 gene pharmacogenomics. So it opened for me other papers that address the same problem and what has been cited by this paper. So I can go and read more about this paper, and it may give me more references that I did not thought of. So it's a very beautiful for mapping the papers for you and find more resources. Again, for the sake of time, unfortunately, I cannot explore it more with you, but here you can even add it to your library, and you can explore it and you can save it. And again, with the free version, it is very well working as an initial stage. Moving on to Notebook LM, I'm mindful of the time, so I'll try to show this Notebook LM and some information about Claude, and I will stop. Sorry, Dr. Ahmad. So with Notebook LM, it is one of the best tool to close the loop, because it has 0 hallucinations. It only works on the resources that you upload, and it gives you a very beautiful discussion as well as a studio with so many beautiful products like briefing document, study guide, slide deck, even like this slides has been created using Notebook LM, and I'm going to show you in a minute how it works. So you can upload PDF, protocol, transcript, videos, you name it. And it is linked to your Google Drive. You can ask questions, you can generate so many outcomes, and it gives you in-text citations. I put for you the prompts that you can use, and let's explore Notebook LM together. So this is Notebook LM, freely available at the moment. And with the free version, you can upload up to 50 resources. So this is where your resources is. This is the chatting part. And at any chatting part, you can see that I have the source guide. So from where it gets this information. And here you can even configure your notebook. So you want it to custom, you want it to be longer answer, shorter answer, you give it a persona. You can do this at this stage. And here you can customize it better. So to act from the start a certain persona, or you can delete the chat history. Here is the studio, one beautiful resource. It can create for you a podcast, a slide presentations, video overview, mind map. So you can see exactly to have some structures in your mind. It can create reports, and you can even decide the type of report that you would like. Is it a briefing? Is it a wide policy? Is it a summary? Is it a concept? Is it a strategic framework? What you are looking out of your paper. So this could be like a starting draft. And it can have different languages. And this is so beautiful. It supports more than 50 languages. It can create quizzes, infographics, so even for visual abstract, you can create, like I think this one, I created it using the infographic tool that they have, and you can even decide the design. You want it scientific, you want it to be a Lego style, you want it to be anime styles if you have a younger audience, so you can create, and it has zero hallucination, and the English are really very well written. So again, moving to looking at the time, let me conclude by telling you about the LLMs. Like we have Claude, we have ChatGPT, and we have Gemini. And people always have this. Shall I use this? Shall I use this? Shall I use this? Again, there is not perfect tools. Each one of them have a strength and have a limitations. So I created for, based on Dr. Baras also, there is a beautiful visualizations in the comparison between the three tools, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. And by the way, every day they are improving. Like ChatGPT, last week, their infographic was amazing. Gemini with the nano banana, a very beautiful infographic that they produce. So they are being evolved by the minute. But at the moment, you can see that ChatGPT is more about an execution engine. And the strength of ChatGPT is the custom GPT, and I will show you in a minute. Claude, very beautiful for creative writing and agentic workflow, and you can use it a lot to automate some of the action that you do. Gemini is very helpful for brainstorming. It is very beautiful. It's built on more sentiments, so it's very nice in the conversations. So for the sake of time, I will not explore more, but I would like you to keep in mind that before using any of these LLMs, like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, you need to put your core message. So you bring a piece of paper and write it. What is your core message? What is your key findings? And what is your clinical implementations? It is very important that you do this before writing it in the AI. If you don't do that, whatever AI produce is going to be just this fancy words, but it's dancing around the topic. But this is where if you put these three main elements, beautiful. The final outcomes that come out of AI will be matching your needs. And always delete this general words that even we as an editors identify. This has significant implications for clinical practice. No, delete this and rewrite it again using your researcher versions, like screening interval for diabetic patient may need shortening from 12 to 6 months. The real nitty details that you identify, because AI will produce a beautiful text, but less numbers. And this is your job as a researcher to put the numbers. And this is where AI cannot replace you. Again, be mindful of the resources because sometimes some of these citations are hallucinated. So I will conclude with this. The responsible AI use is to state which AI tool that you use, for what you as a human author, because you are the one who control the content and the conclusion. AI cannot take your responsibility. So if any AI is there, they are not authors. So sometimes this is where papers has been retracted because they use exactly what AI has produced without being them in the loop. Avoid uploading confidential or identifier or unpublished data into your AI. Because especially if you allow the training on your chat, so this data become publicly owned. Check every references and follow the target journal university funders ethics board rules. So AI can help you as an editors, but they are not the ghostwriter. So don't let them write for you from de novo with no any input from your side and then take it and publish it, because this is not right. These are the resources, and sorry for taking longer, because as you can see, there are so many resources to be covered. So I will just check if any question. Elicit AI for systematic review search. Yes, Elicit can help you. It has a function for systematic review, but you can also explore resources and check the landscape. Can we use AI for data analysis? This is Dr. Ahmad is going to answer. So with no other questions for me, thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So my part now, I know, I think you are excited with all these AI tools. We're moving now to different parts or sections in the manuscript, especially the method and the result section. These two are the main parts of the manuscript writing, especially the method section. Method section establish credibility, the trust. Can we trust your research? Can we trust your conclusion? Can we trust your results? So the method section, or a well-written method section, will provide or establish the credibility of your research. The other part, which I will explain tomorrow, or will be focused for tomorrow, is the result, which deliver the evidence. Do we have a solid evidence from your data analysis? Do we trust, again, complement with the method section? Starting with the first part, I will give introduction about the foundation of scientific rigor, understanding the critical role of methods and result in establish study validity, credibility, and reproducibility. The second part, which will be the focus of the session today, is the writing the method, crafting a comprehensive, reproducible, and transparent account for the research methodology. While the second part, or tomorrow, will be focusing on writing the result, presenting findings objectively, clearly, comprehensively to support your research conclusion. And at the end, I will discuss with you, the practical tips for common pitfalls, actionable strategy for writing excellence, and avoiding manuscript rejection. From my experience, I think major of rejection comes from the method section, because it is not reversible. You cannot go back and fix the way you collected data. You cannot go back and how did you select your participants? The instrument, was it valid or not valid? But if the pitfalls are related to something, to the data analysis, maybe the reviewer can advise you to reanalyze your data, improve the analysis. Maybe you did not do adjusted analysis, asking you, please do adjusted analysis, like linear regression, logistic regression, or any other type of adjusted analysis. So starting with the first one, introduction to foundation of scientific rigor, starting from what Azhar already mentioned about the MRAD structure. We have, 4 main components of the research. And the first one was discussed by Dr. Ruwaida. So the first part, which is the introduction, establishes the research context and identify the problems and state the research question and hypothesis. Mainly in the first part of the manuscript, and at the end of the introduction, I would like to know why did you do the study, which in what they call it as the rationale. What is the rationale? What you will add to the knowledge when you do your research, or experiment. The method section describes how the research was conducted in sufficient details for application. A very important key or characteristics of the method is replication without coming back to the researcher or going back to the researcher. Can I do the same with all details? Does it include, all information about the study design, how the participants were recruited, and the procedure, the data analysis? Can I replicate, the study without going back to the authors or the researchers? This is a very important, way to evaluate the method section. And it answered the question, how did you do it? How did you do your research? Give me all details. Don't use vague, statements. We recruited participants, or 105 participants without, telling me how did you recruit them. There are details that you have to specify and tell the reader how did you do your study, so I can replicate. Moving to the result, the purpose of presenting the finding objectively without interpretation. And this is a common mistake between, some researchers. In method, don't write anything related to the result. Some researchers, they write, the study included 200 participants, and they try to describe their characteristics. No, in the method, you just keep it for the method and what you have done. But in the result, you just describe what your data tells without any interpretation. You got this one, the prevalence of the disease was this, the number of participants, number of males, number of females, demographical data of the participants, and so on, without any interpretation. Because of that, in the result, what you do, what did you find? This is what you try to answer within the result section. And the discussion for tomorrow, inshallah, with Dr. Ifat, you will go for, the discussion, and you start interpreting the result. Now, this is the place where you interpret the result, but you don't repeat your result from the section, the result section. So this is the room for you to interpret your result, to compare your result with the existing literature, and discuss the implication and limitation and future direction for your research. So if you look at the answer, the question that you have to answer, what do the findings mean? So based on the result, based on the findings, and comparing it with the other research or previous research. Key principles, we have logic flow. So each section built upon the previous one. So there are workflow. There is, connection between each, successive sections. Then each section by itself is telling a story about, the method, how did you do it, and there is a clear structure where the reader can follow your research. Many experienced research, they have, I think also mentioned by Azhar, what will be the order. For me, I find the method section as the first part, then you move to the result, then you move to the discussion, and finally you go to introduction. Why I start with the method? Because, always we start with the protocol. We start with the proposal of the study to get the IRB or the ethical approvals. So when we do the protocol, already we have the method section written and even the analysis plan. And usually in the protocol or the proposal, we have it in the future tense. The data will be collected. The study, the participants will be recruited or will be selected. So it will be in the future tense. When you move to the manuscript writing, you just change, what you have collected in the method section in the protocol to the manuscript based on the, just changing the future tense to the past tense. Okay, so we are focusing on two sections, which is the method and result. For example, the question from the first reader, can I repeat the study closely enough to trust the design and the analysis? So, which means, again, it is method means reproducibility. Can I replicate the study from what has been written in the method section or not? So this will judge the quality of the method section. When you go for the result, now we are looking for the evidence. Do the finding answer the stated question without interpretation? Again, as I said, in result, no room for interpretation. And if you look at the systematic connection between the title should be reflected in the aim and objectives. Aim objectives should be reflected in how you are going to answer your research question by what type of data you are collecting. And in this case, we call it the data collection method or instrument, which will include the variables that you already mentioned in the objectives. So we have the title reflected in the aim and objective. In the aim objectives, we have the variables that we want to measure. So we create a data collection or a questionnaire or adaptive questionnaire from previous study to know what kind of variables we are collecting. Once we have the variables and we collect the variables, we will see how we are going to analyze. And of course, we'll see that that the analysis mostly depend on the types of variables. Are we dealing with the numerical data or categorical data? So we are in result section, we are looking for the evidence. We look at the p-values, we look at the effect size. Is there a significant difference between the groups? And this is what we usually interpret in the or discuss in the result section. So the smooth chain of moving from the question to the method to the result will give you the whole picture about the study. The result, the next part is the result. So a method, you just want to show what you have planned, what you selected, what we measured, what you performed, what you and analyzed. For the result, what data show in the same order as the question and the analysis. So you have the objectives. For example, you have 4 objectives. So the analysis plan as well as the result should go on the same order. First, I would like, for example, to answer the question about the prevalence of diabetes in a certain country. Then I would like to assess what are the risk factors. So the first part of the result should be presenting the prevalence in your sample. And then you do the t-test or chi-square test or any type of statistical test to answer the unadjusted analysis, whether there's like association or not. Then you move to the adjusted analysis to have the final conclusion from your analysis. Now, why the method and result matter? Because as I mentioned earlier, that most of the rejection come based on the method or the weakness in the method. First, we would like to establish validity. What we mean by validity, we have 2 types of validity. The method section provide evidence needed to evaluate internal validity and external validity. Internal validity, it is related more to the instrument and the accuracy of the instruments. Are the instruments we are using really measuring what we want to measure? Is the questionnaire we are adapting, is it really measuring what we want to measure, as I mentioned earlier in the objective? And when you write the objective and selecting the instrument, you have to match between the variables mentioned in the objective and the variable mentioned in the instrument. This is what is known as internal validity. The other part is the external validity. What we mean by external validity? Once we finish the study and we write the result and start writing the conclusion, can we generalize the result from our study to the target population or not? How we judge? We judge based on the sampling technique, the sample size. How did you recruit your participants? How do you did you control for bias? So all of these will give the credibility to the external validity, or can we generalize the result from our study to the target population or not? So this is known as external validity. The other part, as I said, also mentioned before, about to ensure reproducibility of replication of the study, which means the method section must include sufficient details so that other can repeat the study and reproduce the same result. Inadequate description is one of the main reasons for rejection or rejecting your manuscript from the reviewers. When I read, your method section, can I do the same without coming back to you? Is it clear enough? Is it self-explanatory or not? Delivering evidence. The result section presents the objective evidence and either supports or negate the research question, because you have your research question and there is a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Based on the, the p-values and effect size, is it supporting your research question or negating your research question? And when we report, and unfortunately, there's a tendency just to report the significant result and not reporting the insignificant result, which is totally wrong. We should report whether we have a significant comparison or significant association between the assessed variables or we don't have, because even non-significant p-value or result is by itself a result. So we have to be transparent. As I mentioned, most of the rejection is coming from the method section because it is not reversible. You cannot go back and fix the way you collected your data or selecting your participants from the beginning, and especially because of that, we have the the planning stage, we have the protocol, we have the proposal we submit for IRB. And during this stage, we plan how we are going to conduct our research. So you have to think carefully about the method section and the clarity of the method section to be reproducible and can be done by others when they read it. Other types of rejection could be poor data presentation, but this one can be fixed by reanalyzing the data, representing the data, or it could be rejected in incomplete results. Critical insight, it's an inadequate description of the method has been reported as one of the main reasons for manuscript rejection. Method section must include sufficient details, underline sufficient. You know what I mean by sufficient? It is self-explanatory. I don't have to have, raising questions, how they how they did that, why they did not include this. It should be all stated in the, the method section. So this is why the method and the result are really matter, when in manuscript, because they are the main source of rejection. They are the main source of manuscript rejection. So let me start now just focusing a little bit on as I said, today will be for the method section and tomorrow will be the result section. Writing the method section. There are, if you go to the literature, you will find some minor differences between what shall I present or what the method section should, include. But, what is the core principle first before we go with the section? The primary purpose of the method section must provide sufficient detail for complete study replication. This is the bottom line. This is the purpose of the method section. It should have sufficient details. And, sorry, for someone who would like to replicate the study. Okay? That should be the replication of the study. This means your method section was well written. The core principles, we have completeness by including all essential details, which means, as I will show you, the main components of the method section, starting from the study design, study settings, study participants, data collection instrument, selecting participants, sample size, sampling technique, data analysis plan, all these components should be complete. And also, you have to provide precision about, use specific measurements, not vague description. For every variable, you have to give clear description about how it was measured. As I said, if you remember, I mentioned something about the internal validity of your research. The way you are organizing the logic, the workflow, moving from one paragraph to another paragraph, from one section to another section. And of course, the transparency in reporting all procedure, including modification, limitation, or any any type of measurement or procedure. What reviewers evaluate? Even as I said, even from my experience, the study design, it's some study design, they are like in a gray area. You don't know exactly, is it cohort prospective, is it retrospective, is it you have to consult epidemiologists to make sure that the study design is the most suitable one for your study. So does the study design effectively address the research question? Is this the most applicable study design for this type of research question or not? And unfortunately, also from my experience, I see some people writing, the study design, and this was a chart review. Chart review, extracting data from the hospital system or any system, any other system, is not a study design. It is a data collection method. It's not a study design. It is a data collection method. So don't ever write, the study design was a chart review. Chart review, actually, using chart reviews, it could be case control, it could be cohort study, it could be cross-sectional study, even when it is like extracting data from the system of the hospital, but also it could be retrospective cross-sectional study. Sampling validity. When you go for sample validity, they look about the sample size. Did you, present power and sample size analysis? So because of that, you decided to recruit 200 or 300 or even 500. And the other sample validity is the sampling technique. The way you recruited your participants, does it really reduce the bias and represent the target population or not? Also, between the standardization of the procedure, did you use a standardized procedure in measuring your variables or not? And finally, they look at the statistical method. Did you use for categorical data versus categorical data, which means chi-square test? Did you apply the most appropriate statistical procedure based on the collected variables or not? The method section, again, should be precise technical document. It is not a narrative. Avoid storytelling or interpretation. We are not in the way or the place of interpretation. So you write, this is a scientific writing and should describe clearly from scientific point of view every and each step that you did. Much of the method section should be written before the study is initiated. As I said, the best time to write the method section is at the planning stage. The planning stage, I mean the protocol, writing the proposal that you will send for the IRB or the institutional review board for ethical approvers. But now, as I said, there are different structure of what should be at the beginning and can we move it but there are main let me say components that should be in the method section. The study design and the setting. Is it experimental design or it is observational? When I go for observational, what will be the most suitable one? Is it the cross-sectional? We know the pyramid or the hierarchical order of the study design starts from case series, then cross-sectional, then we go for cross-sectional case control, cohort study, and experimental design, and on top of that we have the meta-analysis. So you have to be clear about what specific design you have, study design you have in your research. For setting, where the study will be conducted, this is a very important question that you have to answer. Where the study will be conducted. You just don't assume that everyone knows your hospital or your country. You have to give full details about the setting. Participants and sampling. If you have to give a full description about the target population, the target sample, and the inclusion-exclusion criteria. Sample size and sampling technique. Sample size, you do proper sample size calculation. And in the literature or the internet, there are plenty of sample size calculator. One of them is G-Power, where you can use the G-Power to determine, based on your objective, of course, and research question, you can determine your sample size. And also sample technique, how you are going to recruit your participants. This is a very critical point. And most of the reviewers would like to know exactly how did you select your participant, and is there any source of bias or not. For example, going to the malls and collecting the distribution questionnaire, which is known as convenient sampling. Does it really represent a population that you are targeting? Because we know that convenient samples or non-probability samples usually create some bias. So how did you control for bias? Also, you have to give a full description about the procedure or any intervention. How did you apply the intervention? You give full details about the intervention and about the variables. How did you measure the variables? And in your data collection sheet, how did you collect your data based on an instrument that it is validated, not validated? You are the one who created the questionnaire, or it was already created. And if it is created, when you adopt it from the literature, did you see any type of validation study for that instrument or not? So all of these should be documented to know exactly the reliability of your instrument and your variables. Then we have the how did you control for bias, already mentioned, and you have to give the ethical, when after you applying for the IRB, you mentioned the IRB number and the ethical, how did you maintain the ethical concern regarding your research. And ending up, usually most of the researchers end up with in the middle section by the analysis plan, which I will focus after the second slide. So this could be one of the order, but of course other orders are available, swapping between different sections. Now moving to the essential components. In this part, I will explain the essential components as I just quickly drafted them, but I will go one by one. Starting from study design. You have to be specific about the study design. Is it randomized control trial? Is it observational? Is it cohort study? Is it cross-sectional? Systematic review? This should be mentioned clearly. As I said, don't say this is a chart review, because chart review is only a data collection method, not a study design. Then you go for setting. Is it a single center, multi-center, ICU, ward, clinic, laboratory, malls? From where you collect your data? From where you are going to, did you collect your data? Then the time frame. This is very essential in describing the study period, because the reader would like to know when the data was collected. Maybe it was collected 10 years ago. I want to know. Maybe there is a new update. There are new updates regarding the situation. So giving the time frame is really essential to understand about the reliability or validity of the data. The procedure, you have to overview and give a key procedure of the procedure, the full description of the procedure or of the intervention. And I'm giving an example. I will go through just prospective randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study conducted at 3 tertiary hospital care center from January 2024 up to December 2025. So this is like an example where you give a solid description of the study design and the study period. The second part, as I said, the participants. Most of the reviewer will look at the inclusion-exclusion criteria. And also I discovered a problem when some researchers, they report the participants or the inclusion criteria and the exclusion. The exclusion criteria is not the opposite of the inclusion criteria. For example, when I say I will include all adults, which means more than 18 years old, I don't have to write in the exclusion criteria that I will be excluding children or pediatric. So when I say inclusion, adult, that's it. I don't have to give the opposite. Out of those, the inclusion criteria is defined as out of those you are including. Are you going to exclude any from those adults? Maybe they have some chronic diseases. You don't want to include a specific chronic disease may affect your outcome variable. So you have to look at out of those who meet the inclusion criteria. Are you going to exclude any or not? Also, I mentioned something about the sample size, and there are plenty of sample size calculator. One of them is commercial one, but it's the most comprehensive one. They call it PASS, P-A-S-S, PASS, is the most comprehensive sample size calculator. But of course, G-Power is good. And for all prevalence study, there is something we call it RAWSOFT. I hope that I have time to give you and share with you all these resources. but I hope that we can have other, workshops where we can give you for every part of these, how to do sample size calculation and what type of sampling techniques we have. Also, you have to describe the demographics, what kind of variables you are collecting about, age, gender, clinical characteristics, chronic diseases, or any other variables. The way of recruitment, this is really, I find it to be the most critical point, recruitment. What was the recruitment process? Because the way you elaborate more about, how did you select your participant? How did you recruit them? This is the most, part will generate questions. And most of the reviewers would like to know, how did you approach your participants? This is really very important. Again, as an example, as I said, adult aged 18 to 65 years with confirmed type 2 diabetes, which means a more hemoglobin A1C more than 6.5 or 7, depends on the cutoff points that you are using, were recruited from outpatient endocrinology clinics. So you are describing the clinics, the setting, you are describing the inclusion criteria, and you are describing their age and some characteristics. The next one is about, the equipment. This really depends on the research, is it lab-based? Is it, what kind of instrument, what kind of tools? If you use, like, for example, the one I mentioned, like, Omron, for blood pressure, or what is the name of test device you are using for testing their hemoglobin A1C, so, or blood pressure. So you have to give all details about, the equipment and materials that you are using. The next one is the procedure, about the order and what kind of measurements that you are using. One of the main things that you have also to be clearly describing is what is the variables, the type of variables. Which variables will become the main outcome variable or the primary variable, and which variables are the risk factors or the let's say, contributing factor to increase or decrease the value of the outcome variable. So you have to elaborate more about, the types of variables that you are using when you write the procedure. It should be systematically connected to each other. Another part is the ethical consideration, which I think I mentioned most of it. It's the IRB, which is the ethical approvals, the consent form at the beginning of the questionnaire, or even if you're collecting data from different sources, confidentiality, assuring the confidentiality of the collected data without any identification of the participants. Registration, especially for the systematic review and randomized control trial, it is good to have a registration and you have a registration code. So this will support that your protocol or the study was done through scientific manner. And of course, this is my area, which is statistical analysis. I will show you because I kept one separate slide, but these are the minimal, parts that you have to mention. Software, the name of software, SPSS, SAS, Stata, or any statistical with its version should be mentioned in the analysis plan or data analysis. The significance level, which is usually typically 0.05, the power analysis, the sample size calculation, and also, the descriptive statistic, analytical statistics, what type of statistical test you use, and, as I will mention in the coming slide, the adjusted and unadjusted analysis. Okay, now writing the data collection, paragraph. In this paragraph, you describe, as I said, the main components. So what was used to collect data, questionnaire, interview guide, or medical records extraction, which is called as the chart reviews, or is it coming from laboratory test or wearable device, count how many steps, how many sleeping hours, or any other source of data collections. Let's start from, this should be clearly mentioned in this paragraph or section, the data collection, source of the instrument. Is it, if you are talking about questionnaire, is this questionnaire developed by you as a research team or adapted from, previous study? And if it is adapted, is it validated or not? Because not all published, instruments are validated, and there are two types of characteristics or attributes that should be satisfied for any instrument. the validity and reliability. This is a total area of psychometry where you have to show that the data collection instrument that you are using in your research is valid and reliable. Other than that, if whatever conclusion that you are presenting will be meaningless, because if the base, which is the instrument, is not valid and reliable, how can I trust your conclusion? One of the things, because usually we have to differentiate between two things. We have data collection and we have a questionnaire. These two are totally different, because questionnaire, they have different process of validation. We have to go for piloting, we have to go for panel of experts for content validity, phase validity, construct validity. There are more than 20 types of validation and reliability, like when you go for piloting and calculate something, you call it Cronbach alpha. So this area of developing a questionnaire is not an easy area, and by itself, if you go to PubMed, just Google, write in the PubMed development and validation, you will see that a huge number of articles coming, and the sample size for that one is like any other cross-sectional study, around 400 to 500, only for validation. So producing a validated questionnaire is not an easy task by itself, is research. As I said, we have to distinguish between questionnaire and data collection. Data collection usually related to secondary data, related to chart review. You are not the one who collected the data, so you don't have to show any types of validation. As long as it is a secondary data and the collection, those who collected the data, they show that it was collected and with using a validated device, that's it. You can just adapt them and use them easily. But there is no, they will not ask you to show the validation of a data collection. You are just extracting the data. Other than that, also, one of the things that you have to look at is the language. When you look at the data collection instrument, for example, if you are in Arabic region, is there a validated Arabic version or not? If not, you have to do something we call it translation, forward translation, back translation, and you revalidate. So this also you have to look at. It's not enough to have to search in the literature and find a validated English version of the questionnaire, and you say that I will just translate it and then use it. This is not acceptable. Also, you have to do pilot testing. If you are the one who is, translating it and back translating, you have to do piloting. And as I said, at least you have to calculate something we call it Cronbach alpha, which is a value for reliability. And the sample size for Cronbach alpha is they accept from 30 to 50 participants for this type of validation or reliability. Or the thumb rule for that one is 3 times number of items. Items, I mean number of questions in the questionnaire. Other part that you have to describe is the variables. You have to give me a full description of variables, especially classifying them. Variables that are categorical from numerical, variables from the outcome variable as dependent variable, from the risk factors or independent variables. So you have to, because give a clear description and clear discrimination between types of variables will really facilitate or make it easier to understand why you used this type of statistical analysis. Data collection mode. You have to describe how the data was collected. Is this self-administered or interviews, or it was online, it was paper-based? Is it a retrospective chart, as I mentioned? You have to give a full description about the mode of data collection. Even I don't advise, from my experience, to mix 2 types of or mode of data collection. Don't mix online with paper-based, because sometimes this may create some kind of bias. When I compare between the 2 types of data collection, maybe those who answer the online, their mean age differ from those who answer by paper based. So this may create really some differences and may affect the outcome variable or the result later on. As setting, already I described some part. You have to give me from where you collected your data, data collector who collected the data, then the quality control measure, you double check about missingness, about outliers or any other variables, and how did you handle outliers. Now this area about imputation, if you have missing data, Did you remove those participants with missing data, or did you do any type of imputation? This should be clearly described about your data collection. The other part now is the analysis part, which is, this is my area as a biostatistician. A statistical method paragraph should be crafted like a carefully planned eternity in terms of what? Exactly describing, as I said, main components of the statistical analysis. For me, there are minimum 5 main components. The first one is the name of the software. Which software you use? Did you use SAS, Stata? Because if I want to replicate your study and I collected the same data, and I know that, for example, survival analysis is limited in SPSS, but I know it is extensive in R or Stata. So telling me what software that you use in data analysis will make it easier for the reader to go and analyze the data or the analysis you did with the same statistical software. So this is a must. This is the name of the software. The second one is descriptive statistics. You know, as I said, there are 5. The first one is the program. The second one is the descriptive. How did you describe? And usually we say for categorical data, we presented numbers and percentages. For numerical data, we presented mean and standard deviation. Or, of course, if the data is not normally distributed, because you have to assess the normality of the data, you use median and interquartile range. Also, based on the normality, you have to give me the name of the test. Did you use parametric or non-parametric test? Did you use t-test or Mann-Whitney test? Did you use ANOVA or Kruskal-Wallis test? So you have to specify, based on the normality, which test did you use. Also, you have to mention the confidence interval, which is because we know the deficiencies in the p-value, that it is affected by the sample size. Confidence intervals are known to be more robust, and especially the effect size, because effect size is, and I advise you to read about this keyword, which is effect size. Effect size, it is the odd ratio, it is the relative risk, it is the R value and correlation coefficient, it is the beta for regression. So effect size is something which more interpretable in clinical setting, because it gives you the magnitude of the association, not the significance of the association. Then you distinguish between the statistical test as bivariate analysis, like chi-square test, pair t-test, unpaired t-test, which we call as unadjusted analysis, from adjusting for covariates and confounders, which is linear regression, logistic regression, linear mixed models, GEE, and all other advanced statistical techniques. And of course, one of the main things that you have to mention, which I think you should also mention earlier in the protocol or the manuscript, is the significance level, which is typically 0.05. So you'd say that all tests were carried out at a level of significance of 0.05, or a test was declared significant, or a result was declared significant when the p-value was less than 0.05. Also, you can, as I said, include other when they are relevant to missing data, multiple comparison, which is known as Tukey and Faroni, because if you do multiple comparison, you have to adjust your p-value. Did you do any transformation when it is not normal? Did you do log transformation, linear transformation, or square root of the variable? So or did you do any sub-analysis, sensitivity analysis? So if you did any of these, you have to give a full description. Writing style, I don't know how much time I have, to be honest. I know that we are running out of time. So just variable tense, as I mentioned earlier, when you write the protocol, we use future tense, or when you write the protocol or the proposal, you write the future tense, that the data will be collected, the data will be analyzed. But in manuscript, you use the past tense. Active versus passive. When you go for when you write like a story in Word document, it will give you underline some variables, some sentences that the one who did the action is not presented. But in scientific writing, they prefer the passive. The data was collected, the blood pressure was measured. So in medical writing, they prefer the passive, not the Maybe in some situation, yes, you can specify who did. As we mentioned that you have to mention who did the data collection, but not the whole, manuscript. Like examples of, how the language should be precise. Like measurements were performed at different settings. What can I understand? This is very vague, but when I say measurements were performed at 25 degree, 37 degree, and 56 for 10 minutes each. So I know now exactly how, you took the measurements. A questionnaire was used to collect data. Again, what is the characteristics of the questionnaire? How many items, how many sections, validated, non-validated, did you calculate Cronbach alpha? Did you show any type of validity? You have to be very specific. This is like the workflow or the organization strategy. You go sequence or you go topic by topic, and of course you have to use subheadings when you do to distinguish between each part. Common mistakes, and I think I will end up with this one, closing my session today, and inshallah for tomorrow we can continue with the result section. As I said, mixing result in the method. Don't do any kind of description of the result in the method section. It is only for method. Study design. The data was collected and analyzed. No, the study employed a quantitative cross-sectional design. Poor sampling description. As I said, a purposive sample, which is a convenient sample, a purposive sample, a simple random sample, a stratified sample. What kind of sampling did you employ? So we say a purposive sample method was used to collect 25 participants and so on. So you have to be specific. Missing ethical details. The ethical approval was obtained, and you give, a reference, and you give a consent, and you can attach the consent. Measurement description. You have 20 items. As I said, structural questionnaire was adopted from a validated tool, and you give the citation from a validated tool. And justify choice of analysis. Describe what you did without explaining why you chose the approach. So multiple regression was chosen to examine the relationship while controlling for confounding. As I mentioned, that this is the adjusted analysis. Also, we have used technical terms without context or definition. We say a phenomenological approach was applied to understand the participants. This is like in a qualitative study designs. So use reporting guidelines specific to study type. I will share with you just quickly, the two types of checklists. One of them is, the strobe, and of course, for some study design, like the randomized control trial and systematic review, we have specific checklist. So for randomized control trial, we have consort. We have for observational study strobe, which I will share with you quickly. We have for systematic review Prisma. We have case report care. We have trial protocol. We have spirit. I have this one, which is a very comprehensive checklist, Equator. If you click on this one, I already clicked. Yeah, this is the strobe. This is the strobe, and this is the equator. For strobe, we have, if you have for all of them in general, or you go for specific study design, for cohort study, for case control study. And if you open, the file, I have it also. I will show you just, how the evaluators or the reviewers, they look at, the checklist and see whether you presented, all these sections correctly or not. So this is the strobe. Because if you follow this, checklist, you will know that is there any deficiencies in your method section or not. You see, starting method. You have the study design. Of course, start from the title and abstract and give you, the checklist and the setting, describing the settings, location, and relevant dates, including period of recruitment. You see, all of this just to make sure that what you have done is the correct way. Participants, variables, clearly defined, data source, bias, sample size, quantitative variables, statistical methods. Then it moves to the result, and I will keep it for tomorrow. So this is a very nice checklist, just to go one by one and check whether you have, followed, the scientific way or not. This is the equator. It has 700 reporting guidelines. But as I said, if you look at these, and you can just get different checklists from this website. So these are the two commonly used checklists. Thank you for your time. I hope now we can open the floor for the questions. So this will be my title for tomorrow. I will start. The first one will be starting tomorrow at 9, I think, according to the agenda.
Okay, thank you so
Dr.
much.
Ahmad. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad. I can see there are some questions in the Q&A. So maybe if you would like, we can read them for you, and we can give 5 to 10 minutes to answer these questions. So there is a question saying, is bibliometric analysis considered a suitable methodological approach for conducting medical research study?
Dr. Azhar, sorry, there is a form where people can put their questions there, and we can tomorrow also in the morning, you can answer them. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because we're running out of time, so that's why Alia created this form. If anyone has any questions for today, we can cover it tomorrow. Can you recap in the morning, inshallah?
Yeah, in the morning. So we can keep it for the tomorrow morning, unless you want to give us another 3-4 minutes to respond to any burning questions.
I mean, a few minutes is fine. So if we can go through the questions.
Okay, great. What was the question, Dr. Azhar?
No, since Dr. Sami is here, he can take it over. I was filling the gap. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So there are a couple of questions here. I'll just choose a couple for the time, and then I can save the rest for the form. So someone's asking, I think this has already been covered, but just what are some of the tools that can be used for sample size calculation?
Yeah, there are plenty of sample size calculator. I would advise G-Power. It is a good one. Actually, I have a full workshop about sample size calculation. I can share the list, but mainly the G-Power is the one. The other one, they call it PASS for sample size calculation. So if you Google, but this one commercial, you have to pay to get it. They call it PASS. Sample size calculator. This one. It comes from NCSS, but this is commercial. The other one is the G-Power. They call it G-Power sample size calculation. G-Power sample size calculator. This is a free version, G-Power. Also for a prevalence study, the one I like because it is very simple, they call it RAWSoft. RAWSoft sample size calculation. This is a very simple one to use for the beginners. About you specify the margin of error, you specify the population size, confidence level, the prevalence from previous studies. It gives you the simple sample size calculator. This is for dedicated for sample size calculation for prevalence studies. But G-Power is more comprehensive, and the most comprehensive one is the PASS one. Any other question?
Great. Yes, there's one here. Is bibliometric analysis considered a suitable methodological approach for conducting medical research studies?
Actually, I did one myself. I looked at what kind of statistical analysis, software they use. I did one. Yes, it is in my Google Scholar. If you Google it, you will find one about trend of statistical analysis software use and study design. Yes, they can, of course. Another question?
Great. Someone's asking if Microsoft Excel is sufficient, is an acceptable or sufficient tool to perform descriptive statistics, not analytical statistics.
Actually, there is, if you go to Excel and go to add ends, there is one, they call it data analysis, which provide even p-values of ANOVA, t-test. Yes, it is there. Yes, you can do it. It is there. But these days there are plenty of free software, like Blue Sky. It depends on R, and it is, because people, they like menu-driven. They call it GUI, graphical user interface. So now, these days, we have even free software that can be used to do the data analysis. And if you just, especially with the AI these days, believe me, you can use R efficiently. R is the most comprehensive statistical package now available. So if you want just to import your data, analyze your data, R is the best one now these days.